Picked up by Andre from
three-quarters, and he hit it! He had his eyes on the prize and let it fly!
What's going on, Tandemals? Another edition of the Tanndemonium Sports Show, broadcasting live exclusively on Twitch TV, part of the Vendetta Sports Media Podcasting Network. I'm your host, Bryan Tann, and with me as always, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jefferson Legal, a.k.a. Jackson Law. J-Law, how the hell are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. Been a busy storyline wise.
It really
past couple days in
it
sports.
really has. It really has. Before we get too deep into it, want to say what's going on. Give a how the hell are you, or if you're a fan of Letterkenny, how are you now? To Courtney, don't call a plumber. There in the producer booth. Courtney, how the hell are you? Putting her on the spot. Already, not even 5 minutes in.
I'm doing good.
Good.
I'm sorry, my camera's messing up.
That's fine. That's fine. Just giving you the shout out. That's all.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Courtney, the show functions way smoother with Courtney involved, and of course, without any further ado, as they say in some sections of South Central France, Los Angeles, our special guest, he has returned. I was able to rip him from the clutches of one Trey Aloysius Daubert. Here he is, my friend, Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor, how the hell are you, my man?
I'm good. I was no big deal. I was just having a Mike Tomlin, Aaron Rodgers moment with Trey. No big deal. Just a lot of mutual respect there.
Yeah.
That's what it was. A lot of respect there.
Yeah, because you know what? I've been ready to throw down the gauntlet at Trey. Like, man, you can't be taking my friends. All right. Just because you run a company, you're becoming a sports mogul. That don't mean you can have my friends. All right. I'm drawing the line there.
He's a smart man. He knows where his bread is buttered. I can't blame him. I can't blame him. Trey's a good dude. He
really is. Trey's a good dude, knows what's going on. Taking some mental health time, because Jackson, Courtney, they're gonna be tearing up the city of sin.
Oh,
Vegas, Nevada.
Meet up in Vegas, baby.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if you guys are going to see John Gruden in the unemployment line. Because for those
I think he's already out.
Yeah, he's already they already moved. He's already been moved out of the office.
I think he's
been escorted from the building. If you've been living under a rock, it has been announced. John Gruden has resigned as the head coach of the Los Angeles, Las Vegas Raiders. Following recent articles in the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times detailing the use of racist, homophobic, and misogynistic terms by John Gruden back in 2010, he has resigned as head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, 3 days removed from said report. Now, this coming off of 3 years ago, he's 3 years in on a 10-year, $100 million head coaching deal. And he had this to say, quote,
fully guaranteed, too, which was
fully
insane.
Guaranteed. So
they gave him that much money. Like,
he's laughing all the way. He
hasn't coached in the NFL in like a decade, and they're just like, here's $100 million.
Here's $100 million.
No
man.
big deal.
Why not? Hey, we're going to pay you TJ Watt money. All guaranteed, too. And this is what he said, quote, all I can say is that I'm not a racist. I can't tell you how sick I am. I apologize again to Damari Smith, but I feel good about who I am and what I've done my entire life. I apologize for the insensitive remarks. I had no racial intentions with those remarks at all. But yes, they can. I'm not like that at all. I apologize, but I don't want to keep addressing it. End quote. Josh, how many times have we heard the same tired excuse? I'm not racist. I did not mean for it to come off that way. I'm not racist. I'm not racist. But if you say racist things, if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and it's racist, use a racist duck.
I'm going to say three things.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I will say is when you say, I don't want to keep addressing it anymore, you had 8 years to keep addressing it in emails.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, you had time to say what you had to say then. So now that 3 years after you spent that 8-year window saying everything you had to say, ranging from the, borderline, that sounds not too cool, to the absolutely ridiculous for 8 years, now all of a sudden, you don't want to address it anymore. Now all of a sudden, you ain't got time. Now, you mentioned, he's not working anymore, so he should have plenty of time, right? In theory, but
you would think.
That's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing that I will say is I grew up, and I'm just talking about me and my own personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a family that was very heavily involved in the church. I'm a second-generation preacher's kid. My mother used to always tell us when we were kids, there was one particular scripture when we got in trouble for stuff that we said, she would say, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. In other words, you're not going to say anything that you weren't thinking or feeling already, even if it's just for a small fraction of a moment. If it flashed through your mind and you said it out loud, it's probably because it flashed through your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So when you tell me I'm not this kind of person, or I'm not that kind of person, but these kinds of things either come out of your mouth or, in his case, are the product of your fingers actually typing, it leads me to believe that it was something that was on your mind. I had a discussion with a friend of mine last night. We were talking about this because I saw a tweet. I can't remember who said it. I don't want to get the person wrong or accuse someone of saying something they didn't say. So I won't try to guess and try to remember. Mm-hmm. But they said, it's about words and actions, and, words mean more these days and actions don't matter. Small problem with that. And whoever said this was saying this in defense of John Gruden. Small problem with that. It's one thing when you say something and then immediately go and do something different.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing when you take the time to take that one thing that we talked about that just flashed through your mind and used a manual method to put it on record and send it to someone else. So in the time that it took to actually type it out, look at it, say, yeah, this is okay, then hit send. It's no longer something that you said. It is now an action. It is now something that you decided and voluntarily elected to do. That becomes an action when you send that email. It's no longer just something that you said. It's something that you said and now became action because you decided to put that out into the world. That's the second thing I'm going to say. The third thing I'm going to say, I'm going to tell you something my dad used to tell us. He used to tell us, don't say or do anything that you are not willing to deal with the repercussions of. Regardless of what the repercussions are, regardless of what the action is. If you are not prepared to deal with what comes next, do not say it. And honestly, it is the best advice I've ever gotten from my dad. I keep that to this day. He told me that almost 30 years ago when I was a teenager, and I never forgot it to this day. And it's something that I kind of keep in front of me, not only with how I deal with people, but how I am on social media, how I am on the air as a radio host, how I am on the air as a TV host, because I host a TV call-in show, the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. It's on every night on Pittsburgh CW. People call in, they ask questions live on the air. Now, granted, thank God we have a dump button. There's a little bit of a delay there, so try to keep the craziness off the air.
Yep.
But I still have to try to govern myself accordingly.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I know going in what I need to do. There's this varying subset of people. There's 2 or 3 different subsets. There's one subset of people who are trying to defend what John Gruden said, and I'm just like, why? There's another subset of people who are telling you that, well, what happens if we saw some of the things that you used to say? What if we saw some of your old emails or some of your old tweets? Then there's the third subset of people. These people have seen Dave Chappelle's recent comedy special. Okay?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And their thought process is not John Gruden got in trouble for what he said specifically. Their thing is, oh, he didn't get in trouble when it was when the emails with the racist statements came out. It was when the homophobic and the misogynist statements came out. And I'm sitting there going, it was neither of those things. It was the fact that he sent an email disparaging people that the league that he is involved with looks to as leaders. And sent it to a friend's company NFL team email account. That was what he did.
And now because he sent it in the company email, they're liable.
It's not what he said. It's not how he said it. It's not who he said it about. Actually, it is partially who said it about. But it's also the fact that he sent it in the league email. Bryan, Jackson, let me ask you a question. Let's say Jackson got upset with some stuff that Trey did. Let's say Jackson says, you know what? Trey gets on my nerves. I'm going to tell Bryan about it. But he doesn't mention it maybe backstage here on this setup, on this platform. He doesn't say it in the text message. He doesn't say it in the DM on Twitter. He decides to say it in a vendetta email. So guess what happens? Someone who has access to the server happens to find this on a vendetta email account and tells Trey, hey, Jackson told Bryan this about you? Jackson, what do you think's going to happen?
I'm Trey's out the door.
Trey is going to bring the fire, and you are
Bryan.
gone.
Bryan is looking for a new co-host at that moment in time.
And then knowing Trey the way I know, I'm out the door too because I didn't go to Trey and say this is what happened. Number one, I didn't correct Jackson, and then didn't go to Trey and say something. So you can't do stuff like that.
Now, laying all that out, we expected the NFL to treat John Gruden differently. When he said everything he had to say about DeMaurice Smith, when he said everything he had to say about Roger Goodell, repeatedly, I might add, when he had all the stuff he had to say about the thought of women being officials in the league and protests a couple years back when Colin Kaepernick started his protest, all this other stuff. These are people, or these are people you either have to look in the eye directly now as a head coach in this league, or people that are in a subset of the groups you talked about that you have to look in the eye as a coach in this league, including Carl Nassib, who was on your team and recently came out as one of the only openly gay players in the league right now. You got to look all those people in the face in order to do your job again. And you're expected to do your job without any expectation of prejudice, with the full confidence of everybody that works with you and the people that work above you that you have disparaged with the words that you use.
Oh, once that came out, man, he lost that locker room. He lost that locker room faster than Urban Meyer has lost that locker room. I was
just about to say that. You beat me to it. But I can't think of any other industry where you could do that and get away with it. So why did we expect him to be any different?
I agree. And the thing is, this is also, and I saw this on Twitter earlier on, and I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to get the man's name wrong. But when this is a league that's built on the backs of a group of people that make up 75% of the league, and we get no representation in ownership, very little, if any at all, representation in the front office,
very little
representation as a leader on the sideline. As far as head coaches, there was a point in time where we had Lovie Smith, Mike Tomlin, Dennis Green, and those were and Jim Caldwell as our representation as team leadership on the sideline. What do we have now? Mike Tomlin. And then we got one of the best offensive minds in the league of the last 10 years, can't even get an interview. Talking about Eric Bieniemy. Can't even get an interview.
There's also Brian Flores,
and then there's
Chris Greer,
and we got Brian Flores, and then we got
Brian Flores.
but still,
But people are not happy with them in Miami
Yeah,
right now.
but the whole fact of the matter
say
is,
that.
It's hard for people to be happy with you when
it's
you're the coach in Miami.
hard. Very
That
hard.
just comes with the territory, whether you're the Dolphins head coach or the Hurricanes head coach, if you want to be totally technical.
Right.
So
Oh my gosh, it has been.
throw it out there.
I know it has been explosively toxic.
Oh my
Anyway,
goodness,
continue,
we're gonna talk about that as well. But the whole bottom line is, and then we're not even 5 years away from the blackballing of Colin Kaepernick. You still have people all over social media that are still loudly and proudly saying that they will not watch another NFL game due to the blackballing of Colin Kaepernick. And now you've got this as well. This is the biggest of black eyes on this is yet another indication of what this league does, how it looks at people of color, how it looks at anybody that isn't white male. And it's disgusting. And I find, Josh, what's kind of funny is that you know that it was bad when they're investigating the Washington football team and they find this and they're like, whoa, pause. This has got to get out there. And I doubly find it interesting that we get this going on now a little over 2 weeks away from the premiere date of the Ava DuVernay Colin Kaepernick Netflix series.
That's a good thing to point out. Here's another thing. We saw it. I'll go to an old phrase. If someone shows you who you are, believe them the first time.
Mm-hmm.
We saw shades of this. Remember way back when it came out that the NFL was taking money for all the patriotic shows during the national anthem and all the pregame stuff. Remember when we found out the NFL was taking money from the Department of Defense?
Mm-hmm.
And then they said, "Oh, well, we'll give it back." Remember when we found out that all the pink stuff that the players were wearing for breast cancer awareness and all that stuff? We found out, yeah, Susan G. Komen gets a fraction of that money, like mere percentage points.
Yeah, maybe not even 10%.
Then there was the response, which I believe has been it's been 5 years since Colin Kaepernick? 4 years?
4 or 5 years, yeah.
There was a response to that, not to mention the fact that it took 2 preseasons, 2 regular seasons, 2 postseasons to come and go for the NFL to even decide what they were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
They took no action the whole time this was happening. They let players, they let teams, they let people just left them to their own devices.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, this was the preseason when this first happened. So they let an entire preseason, an entire regular season, and an entire postseason go by. Then the next season comes and they let another preseason, another regular season, and another postseason go by. All this happens, and the league did nothing.
Nothing.
They gave us signs for the past 5 or so years. They've been giving us signs. They've been giving us breadcrumbs. They've been giving us clues. This is who they are. And it's not necessarily out of any kind of malicious intent. It's just
who they are.
And it's never been challenged.
This is the institutional racism that is discussed.
It's never been challenged. The system has never been altered. No one has ever thought to say, hey, maybe we should do things differently. One guy tried.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Rooney tried. And he got flack for it then. And now people were telling him, well, see, it didn't even work. Is that Dan Rooney's fault? The man tried. Mm-hmm. There were people who have at least tried to do things differently and tried to change things.
Oh, and how people still crap on the Rooney rule and blah, blah. Oh, my goodness.
They find new ways to skirt around it because they say, oh, you just have to interview a minority candidate. So what do? They bring in a minority candidate. They interview him. Oh, see, we interviewed a guy. See, we did our due diligence. They send him home, and they hire somebody else anyway who didn't fit the criteria of what the Rooney Rule is supposed to represent. Here's the funny part about that. The NFL is not the only place that does it. The broadcasting industry does it too. They're just not going to say it out loud.
Exactly.
Don't ask me how I know. Just take my word.
Oh, if anybody knows, you know that. Well, that's why now everybody.
We've seen signs. That's all I'm saying.
Yep, and this is why I remember somebody was saying, "Wow, it seems like everybody and their mom has a podcast now." Well, you wonder why? You got tons of talented people that cannot break into the industry for whatever reason.
And here's the more important part. no barriers to entry.
Mm-hmm.
You got a podcast, no one's stopping you. No one has to tell you yes. No one has to accept your resume. No one has to go through a hiring process and get you your paperwork signed to find out how much you're going to make or do with your insurance and your benefits. None of that has to happen. You are doing it on your own, and you have no one else standing in the way.
You are your own entity.
Which honestly ain't the worst way in the world.
Nope.
If you're feeling, that enterprising and have that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, we're power to
Go for it.
My hat's off to Trey for that, because there are two people that I really, really respect. And now, granted, I haven't known Trey long, but I have a great deal of respect for Trey for wanting to say, you know what, I want to do this for myself. Let me set out and do it. The other guy is Matt Fargo. Matt Fargo and I have been friends for 12 years now, maybe 13 years. Matt Fargo was a guy who set up his own broadcasting network as a teenager. I mean, like in high school, set up a broadcasting network, started streaming high school football games, audio, video, whatever have you. He was doing play-by-play, brought me along with him to do color commentary. This is a kid who turned this over into a career. He became the play-by-play guy for the Harlem Globetrotters. He was their announcer for a couple of years.
Yeah, I remember you were talking about that.
A bunch of other stuff. Those are guys that I will always respect because they've had that kind of spirit to want to try to do it themselves, and they've been successful at it. So I can't fault them for that. I know we got off topic, but I wanted to.
No, that's fine. I'll tell you the truth. You guys can check out that Trey's interview with Josh on this very topic on That's Some Cheese. Go to our YouTube channel, find That's Some Cheese. I believe that was in early September. That matter of fact, that segment, I actually used that as a teaching tool for the interns.
Wow.
That are coming into Vendetta.
Gave him a quiz and everything.
I gave him a quiz and everything.
No kidding.
A quiz and everything. Absolutely.
Okay, I have to point this out. That was the second Trey reference, and I swear I'm not doing this on purpose.
I totally. Well, this is the man's company, so it's. I mean, geez, the only reason why they don't mention Rupert Murdoch all over Fox all the time is because if you say his name 3 times in front of a reflective surface, he's going to show up. So, all right. So basically at this point, the NFL. And we only have 5 more minutes. We went a little bit over on this segment because I want to do a recap of this past week's NFL, and then do a preview of this week's set of games. But the NFL, and this is the issue that I have, they try to do little micro transactions. They try to do microtransactions. Go, see, we're progressive. Hey, we made it okay now. You can smoke weed now. So that's okay now, right? Right? Oh, hey, listen. This is so great, guys. We got a great idea. We want to let you know that we like you. We like you. So we're gonna have Lift Every Voice and Sing play before the games. That's cool, right? See, we're down with the blacks. No. N-O, no. You know what that is? You know what that is like, hey, your house is on fire. Thank God I brought my super soaker.
Here's what's hilarious. I'm glad you brought up Lift Every Voice and Sing. I had never discovered that I knew so many people that had no idea what it was.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Plus, I never knew that I knew so many people that had so much of a sense of ignorance of their own country's national anthem. I don't think people even realize that Lift Every Voice and Sing was adopted before the Star Spangled Banner was. Google is your friend. It's free.
Yes. And you want to know where I learned
got time
that?
to type an email with crazy stuff in it. You got time to Google. That's all I'm saying.
And you know where I learned that? In my Catholic school. I learned Lift Every Voice and Sing in Catholic school. All of the teachers were white, but most of the kids were black. But you know what? Our Black History Month, they taught us not just, Garrett Morgan invented the stoplight and blah blah blah. Yo, they went.
I think everybody knows that one.
They went with Granville T. Woods, Elijah McCoy, Jan Matslinger, Benjamin Banneker. The list goes on and on and on. That's just 4 that just come off the top of my head. And yeah, they even said, Lift Every Voice and Sing was adopted as the Black National Anthem before Star Spangled Banner was. So
Google's free.
Google is free. Not to mention the fact, there's nothing racist in the national anthem. Want to check out that third?
You read all of it?
Did you check out all of it?
go all out. Read the whole thing.
Did you? You're so quick that you want to sit there and go, oh well, yeah, thank you. Must be nice. We got slavery. That's all. Then Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Yeah, no one talks about the tragedy of Medgar Evers.
Courtney just reminded me of the old Chris Rock joke.
Which one?
With like that's all we learned was Martin Luther King. What's the capital Zaire? Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King. Oh, who's the black woman that wouldn't give up her seat? You sure?
I got it. Martina Luther King.
Martin Luther King. Yep. The whole point is
that's Chris Rock at his finest, by the way.
That really was. The whole point is that until the NFL really starts making some real changes, and I mean from the ground up, it's always just going to be baseless, useless, useless reaching out, period. And it's all just foolishness. Because I saw someone on Twitter go, well, you can't be mad if there's no black owners because what black person has billions of dollars? What, LeBron, Michael Jordan? Yeah, they're not the only black billionaires. All right,
quite a few, and they're not always entertainment.
No, they're not. You don't know their names because they make their money and they stay quiet.
And correct me if I'm wrong on this. Also, is it for all leagues too, or I think the NBA it may have to be approved. I can't remember, but if there's a sale of a team in the NFL, does it need to be approved?
I believe the owners. I believe they're
like. Am I remembering that correctly?
There's a certain number amount.
Definitely in MLB. I believe it has to be approved. There's a certain.
I believe in the NFL it's that way too because the owners run the whole league. So I believe a certain amount. I don't remember. I'll look it up when we're on the break or something. Or we'll put it
and vary from league to league, but it's pretty much the same.
And also speaking of the owners too, this is going to be interesting to see because it's this massive investigation, and this is the only thing that's come out so far. Now, I like a good conspiracy sometimes. Okay, it's just who I am. I like to really dig deep into stuff, try to find the truth. That's the historical background in me. Always digging, always try to find stuff. Why is it that this is just the one thing that slipped out right now? During this investigation, again, tinfoil hat on, could be completely wrong on this. This is just speculation. But if this stuff is happening between a guy that wasn't working in the NFL at the time, he was working for ESPN at the time, and is sending it to an organization, again, that he is not associated with, except for his brother working there, what is happening in the rest of the league right now?
Ooh, I got the answer for that.
I can't wait.
It's the quote of a children's book, and as a new dad, it might be sticking out in my mind. If you give a mouse a cookie, he's gonna want a glass of milk.
Mm-hmm.
This is the appetizer, man. There's more coming.
Absolutely. I think Dan Snyder is gonna be. I think Dan Snyder is gonna be forced out. That wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise me either.
I saw a TikTok today where it's like a dude like had these old man glasses on and he was really up close to the screen. And he's like Jerry Jones trying to delete 30 years of emails.
But here's the thing that got me the exact same thing you did, Jackson. When when the word of the topless cheerleader photos came out, and there had already been a lot that had gotten out with how they'd handled the cheerleaders and some of that stuff. I'm going, oh, they're scratching the surface now. They're letting us know what's coming because they didn't have to mention the emails with the cheerleaders, but they managed to wedge that Easter egg in.
I think Gruden is
He's just the first. He's the
first sacrifice. That's like, this is what's coming. This is what's happening.
And honestly, and I saw someone post this.
Winter is coming.
And I'm gonna close out the segment on this point. Someone said on Twitter, if Al Davis were still alive and this would have been done, he would have Gruden would have been gone as soon as it came up. Because say what you want about Al Davis, he did not put up with that crap. Al Davis was not the nicest guy. He did a lot of shady things, but one thing Al Davis he did not put up with racism.
One of the more progressively minded owners in the league's history, both on the field and off the field. So,
yeah. So say what you will about Al Davis. Hey, don't say none of that around him. All right, we're gonna be back on the Tanndemonium Sports Show, part of the Vendetta Sports Media Podcasting Network, broadcasting live every Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Twitch TV, twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media. We'll be right back with these words, and then we are gonna look into last week, get some words on these games because some of the games this past week were just horrendous. And then this coming week, let's see what's exciting. Those poor Dolphins. We'll be back.
The following broadcast is brought to you in association by XP Coffee Company. XP Coffee Company is the fresh brewed coffee made for gamers by gamers. Get amazing flavors like Choco Loco in 8, 12, or 16-ounce bags, or level up and get Illusion, Isolation, Nightmare, or the Majestic Throne blends in light, medium, or dark roast in whole bean, coarse French press, drip, or fine espresso in 12-ounce, 16-ounce, or 2-pound bags. Wow! Shipping worldwide. If you're in the U.S., go to usa.xpcoffee.co. If you're in Europe or in the U.K., go to www.xpcoffee.co. XP Coffee Company, for gamers, by gamers.
All right, we're back on the Tanndemonium Sports Show, part of the Vendetta Sports Media Podcasting Network, broadcasting live on Twitch TV, twitch.tv/Vendetta Sports Media. Follow us on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search Vendetta Sports Media. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell for all notifications because we're always getting content. We're always putting it out there. And then go to vendettasportsmedia.com where all of our content is posted. We're posting news, articles, and blogs daily, all the time, every single day. Shout out to our partners, Monkey Knife Fight. Go to monkeyknifefight.com where you can bet whatever you want to do. And if it's your first time, use our promo code Vendetta. They will match you dollar for dollar up to $100 on your very first deposit. Whew. This past Thursday, Rams and Seahawks, guys, to me, in a lot of ways, it really, really changed not only what the NFC West is going to be doing this season, but it really changed the landscape of the league as a whole because now you've got a team that was only being held together, in my opinion, by Russell Wilson. Now this guy's finger done fell off. They had to reattach it and put more screws in it. They got the bolts in it that used to be in Kevin McHale's neck back in the 80s. And what ended up, and ESPN got a lot of flack over this game as well because Geno Smith came in to mop up to try to, hold things together, and he did a really good job. But at the end of the day, Seahawks fall to 2-3 as the mighty LA Rams took them down 26-17. Josh, Seattle done?
I'll make a case here that there was more than one game that told us how the NFC West was going to go. Because LA and Seattle told us that, but so did Arizona and San Francisco because no Jimmy G and possibly no Trey Lance. So San Francisco and Seattle both in trouble if you really want to stretch it that far. But doubling back to Rams and Seahawks, this is tough. You were right. The thing that was making this team work as far as how they could possibly be competitive in games that have chances to win them, it was Russell Wilson. Seeing that happen with him, I think that really does put Seattle in the bind. 6 games when you were already 2-2 going into this one.
Yep.
You lost this one and you got 6 more without him. Could they win 2 of those 6? I don't know. I don't expect them to win next week in Pittsburgh. I expect the Steelers to win that game. I can't see Geno Smith being the guy that can undo the Steelers. So I think Seattle's in trouble, and it's really nobody's fault. This is the league that they
happens.
play in. And this is why I say this, because there's no gray conspiracy about this. There's no reason for people to be like, oh, why is this guy always hurt? Russell Wilson played in 149 consecutive games from the season he got drafted with Seattle. This is just one of those times when your quarterback is out. You might have a backup, but he's not your first guy, and you just can't do what your first guy does. And we've seen so many teams go through it. Indianapolis went through it with Peyton Manning when he had his neck issues. Even the Patriots went through it. That 1 year when Tom Brady got hurt in week 1 and he was out for the season. Granted, they brought Matt Castle and still won 11 games. That's besides the point. Your backup guy is still not your number one guy. Steelers went through it a couple years. Everybody goes through it. It is unavoidable. It is the nature of the National Football League. Mike Tomlin says it every week. Injuries are part of the game.
Absolutely. It's the bumps and bruises that come with play.
Bumps and bruises associated with play. Now, if we were talking Seattle 5 years ago,
it wouldn't be a big deal because they still had Marshawn Lynch and we had Legion of Boom.
They had a running game. They had a defense that were both highly respected. They could probably keep them in games to where the quarterback, all he had to do was to make a play here, make a play there, and just don't screw it up. That guy just had to be Kevin James in Hitch. Just, sidestep, side to side, elbows 90 degrees. You don't need no pizza. They got food there.
Bobby Collins could make it work because he had the defense to back him up.
That was until he got caught with the coach's daughter taking his test.
That's right.
But no, you guys understand where I'm going with this. It's
right.
It could have been possible for Seattle 5 to 7 years ago. Now it's not the same team. It's not the same makeup. It just they don't have the same swagger that they used to.
Jackson?
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. It's tough. In like you said, Russell Wilson was the glue that was holding this team together, and he was barely holding it together. They were 2-2 coming into this game. It's not like they were on this upward trajectory thinking Super Bowl, then Wilson goes down and that ruins their Super Bowl chances and this turns into a what if year. No, this was legitimately looking like the start this season, they look like they were going to be the worst team in that division, which again, now with Jimmy G and Trey Lance both going down, potentially the 49ers having to spend some time without them, which as a Dolphins fan, I never wish injury on people, but I'm happy about that because they own the San Francisco first-round pick after giving up their own first-round pick to Philadelphia. So initially that was like, oh, dear God, Miami's pick is going to be top 10 and San Francisco's is going to be at the back end. Now it's looking like it may be a decent pick. Not as good as what the Dolphins pick is going to be, but it looks like it potentially may be an kind of pick there.
Silver lining.
I was about to say, leave it to Jefferson Legal to find that silver lining.
Listen, I'm a Dolphins fan. It's the only thing I have right now, okay, is that pick turning into a good pick.
Jackson, I'm a Duquesne University alum. My team, my school's men's basketball team has not made the NCAA tournament since 4 years before I was born.
Yeah.
I get it. There was a 3-24 season the year after I graduated. I understand.
Oh, I remember that year.
I feel you.
I remember that year. Mm-hmm. So moving on, Falcons, Jets, Pitts setting the league, starting to slowly set the league on fire. 119 receiving yards, and the hapless Falcons get one over on the Jets. And we even said last week, look, someone's got to win this game, but whatever. Moving. Actually, this is the game that I look at Trey and I go, are you interested in this game? No, I don't really care. You know what? Me either. Someone's got to lose.
It was weird because going into that game, I'm like, it's a game in London. And you guys may remember this, you may not. Usually every time the NFL has a game in London, there's one team that comes out smoking hot, and there's one team is like they're just still asleep. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what year, which teams play. One is always humming, and the other one is like they're still in the States and haven't left yet. It's weird. I got this wrong. I knew one team would come out hot and one would be kind of left flat-footed. I figured the Jets would be the team that actually came out ready to go. I was wrong about that. I should have reminded myself that it was the Jets.
Jets.
They came out being the Jets, and the Falcons came out hot. And, granted, the Jets tried to make it interesting. But you're right. Kyle Pitts, this is what we expected of him when he went as a top 5 guy in the draft. He was the best tight end, especially the best pass-catching tight end. Everybody knew it. No one questioned it. So when he went to Atlanta, we're like, okay, this is a guy who can make a lot happen with that offense, especially since it was an offense with Matt Ryan at quarterback. And we're like, okay, he can make this kind of weapon into something useful. It took a few weeks to figure it out, but good on them for having at least 1 week where it worked.
Jackson?
I mean, it's the Jets and the Falcons. They're both kind of bad teams. And also, I totally forgot that it was a London game. So when I woke up on Sunday, I was like, Man, it's like middle of the third quarter. Totally forgot about this.
Yeah, I remember. And you know what? The one thing that I'll say too is, hey, this is what good players are supposed to do. I want to see Kyle Pitts do this when Tampa Bay comes to town. I want to see Kyle Pitts do this, against some of the better teams in the league. But I mean, granted, I know it's going to be, difficult. You can only expect so much from a rookie. But at the same token, hey, when Randy Moss came into the league, the guy set the whole league on fire. Does Pitts have the talent to do that? I think he does. He's one of those once in a generation type of tight ends, that Tony Gonzalez type of tight end that just gets it done. So we'll see.
Here's something I'll add to that. Usually a game like this with two bad teams, like Jackson pointed out, usually a game like this I call a toilet bowl. But since it was in the UK, does that make it a Donnybrook in the Lou?
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah. I think that'll be a Donnybrook in the Lou.
Donnybrook in the Lou? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm good with that. They can get some fish and chips after. Go down to the pub. Big John will give him a toasty in the back.
Wow.
The poor Lions. They played so hard, and the Vikings, led by Kirk, probably sleeps with the Cousins.
Somehow you like that, Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
You like that.
He does. Oh, man. The poor Lions, man. At this point, I think the only way the Lions are ever going to be good is if you pick them on Madden.
How are the Vikings kneecaps doing? That's all I'm really curious about. Do they have both kneecaps? Or are they intact? Were they bit too many times, or are they still okay?
You know what? I think their kneecaps were Kyle Broflovsky's ball. I mean, Mr. Garrison's balls and Kyle Broflovsky's body. The Vikings.
I was not ready for that. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I'll say this much. I'll throw this one thing in there that I have nothing else to say about this game, because it was the only thing that probably happened that I didn't expect was that the Lions only lost by 2 points. I'll say this much. When you see the Lions as they're constructed now, and you think back, 6-7 years? Actually, not even that far. Maybe 5 or 6 years when Jim Caldwell was their head coach. And in a 4-year span, they had won more games than they had lost, and they were going into playoffs. And Lions fans had the nerve. They had the audacity. They had the unmitigated goal to be unsatisfied with making the playoffs with Jim Caldwell. When you had not one, but 2 franchise icons walk away from the game in their prime because they were sick of playing for your franchise, and you have the nerve to be dissatisfied with Jim Caldwell. So what do? Let's go get Matt Patricia. Maybe he'll bring the Belichick magic to Detroit.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah, he'll do that.
And people in hell want ice water.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Detroit. You did this to yourself. Karma. Take your ownership, take your front office. You did this to yourself. Stop looking gift horses in the mouth when you got a decent coach, when you got talent. Terrell Austin had that defense in, I believe it was 2014. That was one of the top 10 defenses in the league. They were the number 1 team against the run.
They were rugged, man. They were laying hits on people. They were playing angry.
Now, in fairness, Ndamukong Suh left after that season. People. Ndamukong Suh was a monster. I want to say he left after that 2014 season. That was his contract year. He was a first-team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler. Their starting middle linebacker led the league in solo tackles. Their free safety Glover Quinn, he led the league in picks. That defense was humming. And that all fell apart because for some odd reason, somebody wasn't happy with what was happening in Detroit. That's all I'm going to just say. I'm going to say that and let that go.
Okay. Jackson, you made a comment about this game a little bit during our Tanndemonium 2.0 on Sunday. This was that game where I believe your words were, and I'm paraphrasing, the Vikings won? Wasn't that what you said? Didn't you say something like that?
Yeah,
the Vikings won?
Vikings and game-winning field goals don't necessarily go hand in hand. So, yeah, call me surprised when I saw that they won with a game-winning field goal.
Last Sunday wasn't really a game for game-winning field goals. We'll talk about that in a second.
I thought it was Saturday.
Freaking Crosby Sunday. Missed it 3 times. Like, no one wanted to win the Green Bay and Cincinnati game.
I just love the fact that the homeboy is celebrating. I'm like, bro, why are you celebrating? You missed.
I saw a couple hashtag college kicker tweets on Sunday. I thought that was fun. That's what it felt like. It felt like a Saturday.
I told my wife, I said, my son, he's like a year and a half. He'll be 2 in a couple more months. I said, all we got to do is just train him to kick a field goal consistently from 45 and in. If he does, that's a 2-3 million job a year that he has for 20 years. That's all he needs to do. Just consistently 45 and in. He's got it made.
Yep. Oh, your number one fan is in the comment section.
I see him.
We love you. We love you, Trey. Be safe. And yep. Fort will be held. No worries, my man.
You got 2 shout-outs already, Trey.
Yep. You know what? Now, I asked Jackson this, but of course, he's too young to remember. Remember the kicker for the Broncos that kicked barefoot? You remember his name?
Yes. Oh, is that Rich Carlos?
That sounds right. Let me look it up real quick. Broncos kicker that
was what, because he was there like during the Tecmo Bowl years.
Rich Carlos. Yeah.
If you pick Denver on Tecmo Bowl, you could have Rich Carlos as the kicker.
Yep, and they actually did the animation where he had no shoe.
Oh,
that was hardcore.
I'd love to see that.
Yes, Courtney. Yes, Courtney. He was barefoot.
Yeah.
This man would come out on the field, all weather types.
And this is in Colorado in the wintertime now.
Mm-hmm.
And man was out there doing his thing.
And he would kick that ball with no shoe.
Yeah, Rich Carlos was no joke.
Respect.
No joke at all.
Respect.
Yo, I'm telling you right now, man.
We're dating ourselves, Brian. We are. In fairness, I turned 40 a week ago. So there's
and I'm older than you are.
Yeah, you are.
And you know what? Because that was just his kicking style. Courtney goes, what was the reason? That was his kicking style. That was how he kicked.
And I don't think he was the first. There were some other.
No, he was not. There were quite a few. I'll bring up a list. I'll read a list in the top of the next segment of the list of barefoot kickers. That the homeboy was Mr. Deeds.
The only barefoot shoeless and athlete that I know is Joe Jackson, shoeless Joe Jackson in that story. That's the only one I know.
I think we blew Courtney's mind. I think she's
her head is done.
She's in the wormhole looking for barefoot kickers now.
He would be coming home. His wife would already have like a bowl of ice. Like, here you go. Thanks, babe. All right, let's get through this. All right. Saints come out on top of the football team. I mean,
the team with no name. The team who shall not be named.
I mean, I don't really. I have not. I mean, Alvin Kamara doing Alvin Kamara things: 71 rushing yards, 51 receiving yards, a rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. But I'll tell you the truth.
Jameis Winston actually threw for over 200 yards, and they won the game.
I was going to say, Jameis Winston actually. And here's the thing. I think we're starting to figure this out with the Saints. I think when people found out when Jameis Winston became the starting quarterback, they were wondering if they were to try to get him to do what Drew Brees has done. And I think that's the problem where we set, maybe wrong expectations. If Jameis Winston could come in and just not screw it up, because New Orleans has a pretty decent defense. You know what Alvin Kamara is. They got some guys in the skill positions. That's no surprise to anybody. All Jameis Winston really has to do is just come in, do the same thing, and not screw it up.
Yeah, just manage the game.
And managing the game is not a terrible thing. I don't know why this negative connotation, because last stat check, wins still count. So
hey, Trent Dilfer got a Super Bowl ring because he could manage a game.
So did Brad Johnson.
The Winston experience is interesting because first possession of the game, he throws a pick. Second time they get the ball, it's like a 70-yard bomb.
You know what, though?
It's an emotional experience.
Brett Favre, and you know what? All Jameis Winston is doing is what Brett Favre used to do. Brett Favre would throw some ugly interceptions because you know what? It was that I'm not scared of you. It was that Robin Harris. I ain't scared of you. I mean, not Robin Harris, Bernie Mac. I ain't scared of you. I'm gonna put if I think I can put it in that window, I'm gonna do it. And if I you get intercepted, all right, do it again.
I'm gonna make some people around my neck of the woods pretty unhappy. You know who else kind of reminds me of that quality here and there every once in a while?
Benjamin
quarterback under center, the quarterback under center in Pittsburgh, Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger tends to do the same thing. And I'll point this out: been a couple years that he led the league in picks, and it looked rather familiar. I'll set that there and slowly back away.
And you know what? You're better than me because I was gonna call him Benjamin Aloysius Roethlisberger.
I love how you say that because I used to my old radio producer Greg Finley, who's still a really good friend of mine. We do a podcast together. I used to call him Gregory Aloysius Finley, and At one point, we were doing a show. His mom texted him. She's like, "Does he know your middle name's not Aloysius?" And Greg said, "Yes, Mom, he knows."
Yeah, I've been doing that. I've been doing that for so long. I just started. I don't even know when I started doing that. I know it's been a long time because I joked with I joked around with my ex-wife when I said, "You know what? We should name him Aloysius." And she just gave me a look. I said, "I'm just playing. We named him after me."
I mean, speaking of day one, Bryan, this is the 52nd episode. We've made it a full rotation around the sun.
Hey, man, a lot of folks said that we wouldn't get this far. I'm pumped. Here's to another 52.
Happy anniversary to you guys. That's awesome.
Thank you. Oh, let's see. Mac Dad Bod Jones ekes one out over the Houston Texans. Hey, man, I'll tell you something right now. These Houston Texans are scrappy. They are a scrappy bunch. Like, honestly, they're not great. They're not going to win a lot of games this year, but I'm going to tell you something. If they can really get some pieces in, they're going to be dangerous.
I feel terrible for David Culley because I think he knew, and it's weird because you usually see this in college football. If you have programs that fire the coach maybe too early in the contract, and they're not trying to putting up a lot more money out behind the money, they still got to pay the former guy until they figure out who their next guy is. So they bring in a guy who probably under any other circumstances probably has no reason on earth why he should have the job. Yes, Arkansas fans, I'm talking about that time when John L. Smith was the head coach in 2013. I was there for that. No, or was it 2012? I think it was 2012. By the way, Jackson loved the shirt.
Thank you.
That's kind of how I feel about David Culley.
Roller coaster of a year so far.
Oh my God! From the Texas and the A&M win to this, and it's like seriously. But anyway, I love when I get off track. But I kind of feel for David Culley that way because it's like you probably weren't going to get this job anywhere else, but Houston needed a guy. You probably weren't going to get the gig, so they put him in here and they give him this team. We got this great quarterback, but you're not going to play him. We got some of this talent, but we're not going to keep him. And we're going to let you deal with what's left. And they actually had a game where it was starting to work and it was starting to make sense. They got out to a 2-possession lead on the Patriots. And then the Patriots
they're up 22-9 at one point.
Yeah. And when Tyrod went down, they were hanging in there with the Browns.
Right. They were doing everything right, and it just fell apart. And then the Patriots just field goal kicked them to death. And then, of course, there was one touchdown by Hunter Henry. Woo pig. But it's, I kind of feel for him because he's in a position with the team that most coaches probably would not want to walk into sight unseen. And, God bless them. They give their best effort, but against a team like that, you can't give them too many chances. You can't let the Patriots up off the mat, and that's exactly what they did.
They're still the Pats.
Still Belichick's team. It is what it is.
Yeah, still the Patriots. They still find ways to win when they probably shouldn't have won, and kudos to the Texans for hanging in there. They're not supposed to be in situations to win games yet. They've won a game already this year. Again, they were going toe-to-toe with the Browns. Tyrod gets hurt, kind of throws off the whole rhythm of that team, and then just couldn't put it in the basket at the end.
Yeah, there was no expectation of Davis Mills getting significant time like this. It really does suck because it was already a difficult situation to begin with. Then you got to go without Tyrod Taylor, whom, by the way, in most of the opportunities that he had, and they seem to be always the situations where he was like the transitional guy. He was never really the guy. He was like the guy that took you to the next guy. But he always played well. He always
gave you that effort. Always gave you that effort.
Until team doctors stab him in the lungs.
I can't wait to see the 30 for 30 with that one.
Oh man, that's going to be amazing. I intend to live long enough to see that.
Yeah. What if I told you the one thing that kept the quarterback out of the game was his own trainer?
Ooh.
The ESPN 30 for 30.
There you go.
Tyrod Taylor, the Iron Lug.
There you
go. It's done. ESPN,
that's it. That's it. That's it.
Your trailer's written. Call me. Send me the check.
There you go. There you go.
I'll direct
you heard it here. You heard it here.
I've never made documentaries before. I'll start. Let's go.
All right. Here's a game that Jackson will have plenty to talk about. Buccaneers 45, Fins 17. Tom Brady for the first time. The one thing that he hasn't done before, he's done. 400 plus passing yards and 5 touchdowns. Jackson, I'm sorry, dog.
I mean, it is what it is, man. I was actually I remember telling this story where someone asked me how I became a Dolphins fan, like where I live at in the country, which is central southern United States, landlocked. There's not a dolphin in sight near me. But
you don't even have a dolphin at the zoo.
No, I think half the state don't even know really what a dolphin looks like sometimes, except for the mascots that they see. But my dad was a huge Dolphins fan, was a huge Dan Marino fan when he was growing up, and then through the 80s and the 90s. And so when I was younger, and my dad hasn't paid attention to the NFL in like 15, 20 years, basically ever since Dan retired. When Dan Marino retired from the NFL and when Michael Jordan retired from the NBA, he kind of stopped caring about sports except for the Razorbacks.
I like your dad already.
Yeah.
We normally go to the Little Rock game, but I think I may have to miss the Little Rock game. Yeah. Man, I've seen some great games at War Memorial.
One of my biggest regrets in the 3 years I lived in Fayetteville, I never got to cover a War Memorial game. That's like one of my biggest regrets.
They're so much fun. It's insane.
Although that ULM loss in 2012 was there, and I'm glad I wasn't at that one.
Yeah, that one was rough, but I mean, beating LSU a couple times there, so
true.
There's the give and take. There's the give and take.
Absolutely.
And got to see Darren McFadden live there. Got to do that for my birthday one year. That was electric. Anyway, gotten way off subject there.
I love talking hogs. I don't care to get off subject about it. It's cool.
It is what it is.
I know. I never get to talk about them, so I'm always happy to talk about them. But I have this specific memory of I can't remember exactly how old I was, but I remember I got a PlayStation 2 for Christmas, and I needed a way to play it. So my dad went to a flea market, just found like a really crappy, like small box TV, and I would play like Madden, and then like some of the really old other games that I had. That's what I played on. But so that way we could watch football together, he ran a cable into my room so that way I could watch football on ABC or NBC or whatever the channels that they were on. And I remember specifically this one memory where it was him and I were sitting at the foot of my bed, and it was a Monday night game, Miami against Buffalo. It was in the wintertime, super, like, it was like one of those whiteout games, could barely see the field. This is early 2000s TV technology. Trying to watch a Monday night game in Buffalo wasn't the greatest quality. And I remember the Dolphins losing. I remember me being really upset and asking my dad, it's like, why did the Dolphins lose? And he's like, well, that just happens sometimes. And he gave me the answer, but I've been asking that same question for 20 years. Why do the Dolphins keep losing? And apparently everyone else in the Miami fandom has had enough. I'm kind of on the fire Chris Greer GM train, and here's the odd thing about it. I've loved the trades that he's made. I just don't think a lot of the draft picks, the picking that he from the picks that he's had, have made a whole lot of sense. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, if it's not for Jimmy G going down and Trey Lance getting down, the gamble to go back from 3 to 12, then hop back into the top 10 to give up a first round pick to Philadelphia, banking on the thought that we're going to be a much better football team than what San Francisco is going to be this year. Therefore, our pick is going to be higher up than what San Francisco's is. That's not the case. If the season ended last week, the Philadelphia Eagles would have had 6, 7, and 8. That's where their draft picks would have. And one of those picks is Miami's pick. In fact, I think like the 6th pick, which it's probably even higher up there now, would have been Miami's pick. It's something around in that range. Basically 3 top 10 picks for the Eagles is what they have. Howie Roseman has somehow Mr. Magoo'd his way into 3 top 10 picks potentially. Okay.
You talked about draft picks. I just thought about 07. I think it was 07 when they drafted Ted Ginn Jr. in the first round.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, never wear. This is a shout out to anyone that ever in the future may potentially join the Miami Dolphins. Never wear the number 19. It is cursed. Ted Ginn Jr., Brandon Marshall, host of other players. Do not wear the number 19 if you go to Miami. It is cursed.
I had a friend that was at the draft party in Miami, like for all the season ticket holders, the day they drafted Ted Ginn, and people wanted their money back. They were not happy when Ted Ginn was drafted. It was, and that's a really interesting anecdote. But yeah, when they announced Ted Ginn Jr., people were furious.
It's just
that's what I was told.
The draft strategy for this season for a lot of people was kind of like the last straw. It's like you draft Jalen Phillips late in the first round. Jalen Phillips is essentially one concussion away from being the center of the next CTE documentary. And instead, and then in the second round, they trade up to get Liam Eichenberg, who's been iffy this season, and who they made the trade with, the New York Giants, at the Miami Dolphins picked Georgia outside linebacker pass rusher Azeez Ojulari, who I wanted Miami to pick either with that late first round pick or if they went in another direction, because I also saw when they traded back, I thought, okay, maybe they go offensive line, then they go with like a nice, decent receiver the late round, and then they go pass rush early in the second round. That's who I was on the train for them to draft. And the Giants got him at an excellent bargain late in the second round. I think it's like pick 50, 52, somewhere in there is where they got Azeez Ojulari. I'm not on the Fire Flores train, but there are stuff that's coming out, especially from Tua's trainer, that is not shedding Brian Flores in the greatest of light.
Oh,
Tua's trainer went on Twitter after this horrific loss. He was doing what trainers do, vocal trainers do. He's going to bat for his boy Tua. And, people are responding back to him, and he basically says that ask any player. They don't want to talk to Flores anymore. What this trainer implied was that Brian Flores has essentially lost the locker room. Xavier Howard and Byron Jones gave up this past Sunday.
Wow.
That is what everyone from the outside is seeing. And now it's looking that like Miami is going to have to become sellers at the trade deadline. There's everyone in the fandom is calling to just essentially almost blow it up and trade Byron Jones and Xavier Howard while their value is still high, so that way you can get something from them.
Can you send one of them to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I was getting ready to say.
I mean, we already did once before.
Yeah, we just need one more because Joe Hayden was getting beaten like a government mule on Sunday. He
honestly, this is a whole nother topic of conversation, but it's one of those things that the Steelers have had this terrible luck as far as developing their own DBs, but they sure as hell can trade for them or pick them up off the free agent wire.
Absolutely.
Developing them, not so much.
No, we're not drafting them very well, but we're going to go
Miami's your farm franchise.
Apparently
for DBs.
All right. And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that in the next segment, the final segment here on the Tanndemonium Sports Show. We went a little bit over on this time around, but hey, that's what happens when you have good conversation. It happens. It's all good. I was given carte blanche, so it's all good. But this is the Tanndemonium Sports Show, proudly a part of the Vendetta Sports Media Podcasting Network, broadcasting live every Tuesday evening, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitch TV. You can also check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Vendetta Sports Media, or wherever you get your podcast. We'll be back with Josh Taylor in our final segment here on the Tanndemonium Sports Show. We'll be right back.
The following is brought to you in partnership by Symbol. Symbol is a new sports marketplace where you can trade shares of professional teams like stocks. You love sports. You interested in fantasy sports without the weekly annoyance of fantasy league upkeep? Then Symbol's the app for you. With Symbol, fantasy sports is going to a whole other level. How it works is simple. You buy Symbol shares for your favorite sim teams on the app. When your sim team wins, you get automatic cash deposits, and you don't lose any money when they lose. That's it. So if you follow trends across football, basketball, and baseball, and you think your team is a sleeper, simply invest in your favorite sim teams on Symbol and watch your virtual portfolio prove you right or wrong. And if you want to get in on the action right away, Vendetta Sports Media's got you covered. Go to symbol.app/Vendetta and use our exclusive promo code Vendetta, and you'll get a $10 bonus when making your first deposit. Symbol. taking fantasy sports to a whole other level.
I think Brian may be frozen.
All right, we're back on the
there
final.
He is.
Now I'm back. All right, we're back for the final segment here on the Tanndemonium Sports Show here on Twitch TV, a part of the Vendetta Sports Media Podcasting Network. All right, let's get through the rest of these games real quick. Let's get a little bit in on the notable games in our picks for this week, and then I want to get into a couple of other things. I especially want to hear Josh's thoughts on, and your thoughts as well, Jackson, on Kyrie Irving. And of course, Ben Simmons back in Philly. Motown Philly back with Ben.
Apparently, no one in Philly knew that he was coming back, though.
Ben Simmons is back, and no one in Philly seemed to notice. All right, so Packers Bengals. That was a good game, and I'm sorry, even with that loss, I think the Bengals are about for real. I wish they would take better care of Joe Burrow, though. And Joe Burrow needs to learn how to keep himself out of harm's way.
Yeah, I'm actually. Oh, sorry, Jackson. I'm actually pretty impressed with Cincinnati's done so far. I've liked Joe Burrow since his last year at LSU. I thought he was a legit quarterback then. I thought them drafting him number 1 was the move. Going into the draft, I was one of those people that said, "Hey, if you're Cincinnati, get the tackle with the first round pick." They went for Jamar Chase. I wasn't going to argue with it. They had a rapport. They had a relationship from the days at LSU, so I'm not going to argue with that. They thought that they had solved their offensive line problem internally. They might not have. Sounds like another team I know that operates just not too far from where I live. But, at the same time, they have been super competitive. Burrow, I think, when he has time to throw, is as dangerous as any quarterback in the league. He can make pretty much every throw. Jamar Chase is showing himself out to be a stud that they thought he would be. It's just a matter of, like you said, can you protect Burrow over a period of time? Can your defense keep the game at least close if you get into a track meet? And can Jamar Chase keep doing what he's doing?
Yeah, I thought I was really worried that Burrow had gotten injured again.
Brian and I we were talking about that on
Sunday. We were talking about it on our Sunday show that I normally do, but Brian joins from time to time. He rolled out left, just no one open, decides to run it, tries to dive forward for the first, and a guy undercuts him. His legs flop in the air and bounce off another defender and straight back to the ground. He's down on the ground for a long time holding his leg. I'm like, oh, dear God, here we go again. But thankfully, he was able to walk up, got off his own power, and eventually you see him sitting on the bench. He's looking at the tablet. He seems fine. So he was okay.
Aaron Rodgers told him, you have to slide. Like, just start sliding.
Rule number 1 in this league, kid, slide.
Yeah, and I thought the way Aaron Rodgers kind of approached, he told him, look, you're a really talented kid. If you want to play this game for a long time, you got to preserve yourself. So I thought that was really good advice from the OG, so to speak.
Absolutely. Because Joe – now here's the thing. Do I dislike Joe Burrow's playing style? No. This takes me back to the 80s when quarterbacks got hit and kept coming.
Yeah.
But
John Elway was good for that.
Yes, he was. So, but the thing is, defensive linemen are far bigger now, far faster. People are stronger. And
Brian, you had Miss Simpson, right? In high school, force equals mass times acceleration.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. And when dude on a roster spot is as big as Lawrence Taylor now.
When you got honestly, like Lawrence Taylor, he wouldn't be so much considered undersized by nowadays, but he would not be looked at as the genetic freak as he was when he first came into the league. Yeah, and this was a guy who was 235, always played at 235, 250, and ran fast and hit hard. He would not be special like he was then, like now. So gotta protect yourself.
Agreed.
Steelers, Broncos. I honestly, Josh, this was what good teams do. I thought the Steelers were going to I thought the defense was going to choke this one up. I really did, especially when Najee ended up being out for the rest of the game, and we had to deal with Benny Snell and Kellen Ballage. And Kellen Ballage and Benny Snell proved my point that I put up there on Twitter. This offense is Najee Harris's. This is everything just works with him. This is Najee Harris's team.
This is the closest we saw to what I've wanted the Steelers offense to be for the last few years now. I've been making this case for a while because we've known for a couple of years now, Ben Roethlisberger's in the twilight of his career. I wanted him to treat that last couple of years of his career the same way his idol, John Elway, did the same. John Elway knew he had something left in the tank those last couple of years, but he didn't try to do everything himself. He had a Hall of Famer behind him in the backfield. He had a Hall of Famer at the tight end position. Had two really good receivers, Annette McCaffrey and Rod Smith. Had a couple Pro Bowlers or all pros, and Tom Nalen and Mark Schlereth in front of him. Had a really good defense. The safety was a Hall of Famer and Steve Atwater. He knew what he had as a team. He said, look, this defense is good enough to keep us in every game. We got a running game that's lights out. You got a couple really good, reliable receivers. You got a lights out tight end. All I got to do is just direct traffic and not screw it up and make plays when I need to make plays. And that's what they did, and they won 2 Super Bowls on his way out the door. I've been wanting to see the Steelers do that for the past couple of years, and they haven't had all of it happening for whatever reason. Maybe it's been the offensive line wasn't there. Maybe the defense wasn't there. Maybe the receiver depth wasn't there. But it was like there was always a piece missing. It feels like this season might be the closest to having all the pieces at least somewhat assembled at the same time. And I thought Sunday looked the most like that, where Ben didn't have to try to make every play by himself. He turned the ball over once. He could have turned it over 4 times.
Yep.
A couple passes that could have been intercepted.
There were a couple passes that were iffy, very iffy.
But at the same
time, could have been the Bengals game all over again.
Right. But there was a couple times where the run game was really carrying the offense. It was setting the tone.
I have not seen Steelers run game this efficient since Jerome.
I was going to say since Le'Veon Bell, because we've seen Le'Veon Bell close out games.
Yeah, Le'Veon.
Here's one that comes to mind as far as Le'Veon closing out games. That game in Tennessee where LeGarrette Blount walked off. Mm-hmm. Why do you think LeGarrette Blount walked off? Because Le'Veon was closing out the Titans on the road. Because they gave Le'Veon the ball. He kept getting yardage. They didn't need LeGarrette Blount.
Right.
Why bring him in the game? Le'Veon's getting the job done. That was the only thing missing for me, really, because Najee Harris came out with the injury. I thought that was a smart thing to do. You need him more for the rest of the season than you do to close out this game.
Right.
The defense has done such a great job so far. Lean on them to close it out. They did what they had to do. Huge play at the end for James Pierre because he had been
James Pierre is going to be a stud, I think. Because
he's progressing the way they hoped that he would. He's getting better, and that's one thing. That's what you hope for.
And I got to give a shout out, and I was giving shouts out to Teddy Bridgewater all Sunday. He can ball. Teddy Bridgewater. I started calling him Teddy Football because even when he's getting pressured, he doesn't make mistakes. That was his first pick of the season.
First pick.
He's accurate. He's smart. He reads the field. He goes through his progressions quickly. Like, what was the worst that they said about him? Oh, his hands are small. Okay. That was it. All right. And he puts a zip on he can throw the deep ball. He put zip on it, right? So what's the problem? Hey, we had a president prove that you can be president when you have small hands. You can be a quarterback with small hands too. I'm just saying. All right.
Anything is possible after that.
Eagles eked one out against the Panthers. Sammy D, not the best of games, but he's gonna bounce back. Good quarterbacks have bad games sometimes. It happens. The Eagles, for as difficult of a team as they are to watch, look, they're still the Eagles. They'll find ways to lay a golden egg every now and again.
You can't turn it over 3 times. You can't. And I think that's what Sam Darnold's going to learn from that. It not an impressive game like you mentioned as far as the stat line goes. I thought Carolina had a chance to be a team that could prove a lot of people wrong because maybe they're just under people's radar. And yeah, like you said, just that is the one thing you cannot do if you're Sam Darnold.
Yeah. J-Law?
Yeah. I mean, Sam Darnold, believe it or not, is still growing. I mean, I think the vast majority of people don't realize this. He's younger than Joe Burrow.
Yes.
People don't realize that. And Joe Burrow,
he was stunted. He was stunted in New York.
He's no longer with the Jets.
Exactly. So it's like this is almost like his rookie season right now. It's like you almost can't.
Rookie season, basically. Yeah.
You really can't count too much with New York because he was in the Gase of hell. Adam Gase is horrific.
The gates of hell. I love it.
Look how much.
I'm not the only one that can do good wordplay.
That's good.
That was very good. Yep.
That's been a joke around here for a year. I came up with that. Yeah, last season I think it was when Adam Gase was still
ride
there.
that horse.
Ride that horse of hell
as long as you can.
Jackson, I might borrow that one day. I'll credit
you. Go for it.
That's
go
good.
for it.
That's a good one.
Titans beat up on the hapless Jags. The Jags have quit on Urban Meyer. I mean, it's obvious. They're fed up. They're done. Trevor Lawrence is in the same position that Sam Darnold was in, with just a head coach that has no clue what the hell he's doing. Urban Meyer is just yet another example of just because you could coach kids don't mean you can coach men. And
he will quit the job in 2 weeks because he'll say something like, he's having like heart problems again. And then at the end of the college football season, he's the new head coach of USC.
And I'll tell you the truth. If I'm Jacksonville,
seen the story 100 times before with Urban Meyer.
And if I'm Jacksonville, the first person that I interview for that head coaching job is Eric Bieniemy. Because you see what he was able to do with Patrick Mahomes. You pair him up with Trevor Lawrence, with the young guns that they got on this team, and you could have something special in the next couple of years.
I'm going to disagree with you only because I have another name that's just as interesting.
Okay.
And I think could be beneficial to Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
I'd love to see them talk to Byron Leftwich.
Oh, that is a good call.
I'd love Jacksonville to have a conversation with Byron Leftwich. I think he'd be an interesting fit because of what he's doing in Tampa. He's not that far away.
That's true.
I think that's an interesting.
And I'm pretty sure
Byron Leftwich, wasn't he also the former
Byron Leftwich was originally the starting quarterback of
Yep.
the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You
He
see
took
where
over
I'm
from
going
Mark
with this.
Brunell.
Yeah.
He took over from Mark Brunell.
You see where I'm going with this. If
would
Urban
be-
Meyer is indeed gone, give Byron Leftwich a call. He's a guy I think that's deserving of a head coaching job. Here's where Bruce Arians does not get a lot of credit. That man rides for his assistants, for them. He's got people from different backgrounds, different cultures. He's got women on his coaching staff, and he rides hard for them. I thought he said one of the best things. He said, I bring these folks in because I want these guys and these girls to be head coaches. I want them to get the opportunity. Jacksonville, call Byron Leftwich. Shane Khan, Tony Khan, you want to get you want your fans on your side? Call Byron Leftwich.
Call Byron.
Do that.
Absolutely.
You will tick off so many boxes making that phone call.
And I guarantee you, when you bring in Byron Leftwich, who is still loved in that organization, they still love him in that town, and he's gonna bring something to that team. And we're gonna be talking about Jacksonville in the next 4 years.
Brian, we'll talk about my Steelers offseason plan another day because it's long, it's detailed.
I can't wait.
You may or may not like it, but I got a lot of reason to believe it's a good idea.
All right, we're gonna have to do that soon. Hey, see if you can get me to come on your Sunday show. I'll do it.
We'll see.
I know you can't. I know you can't.
I gotta see if you're willing to be up that early on Sunday mornings, man. That's what it is.
Hey, I'll get up. Hey, for Josh Taylor, I will get up on Sunday morning.
We'll work that out. Maybe I have you on. We'll talk NFL. Maybe that's what we'll do.
Okay, cool. We'll do it. All right. Chargers beat up on the Browns. Justin Herbert.
This was a fun game to watch.
It was a fun game.
I don't like giving anything Cleveland credit for anything, but this was a good freaking game.
It was a good game. It was also a good game where Justin Herbert did not blink and the Browns did.
Yeah.
And I'll give the Chargers so much credit because what they did in forming this offense in LA, they brought in a couple guys that had been under Sean Payton in New Orleans, and they're working this offense with Justin Herbert the same way they did with Drew Brees in New Orleans. They're giving him a lot of freedom. They make him comfortable to do the stuff he likes to do. It also helps if he can make all the throws with an arm like Justin Herbert. But he's got good weapons. He's got Mike Williams. He's got Austin Eckler. He's got guys that he can go to that are reliable and make plays. And those guys did it from kick the gun. They did it the entire day. And they were reliable. When Cleveland needed to try to step up and do something and try to punch back, That last time around, they fell short. They blinked. I give
Steelers
credit to
coulda
the
had
Chargers.
them,
That's a
too.
big win.
Yeah, you, Josh, you mentioned that Justin Herbert did a great job. He did not blink. He stood in there, stood his ground. You know who also didn't blink, stood his ground? Rookie tackle Rashawn Slater had to go up against Myles Garrett the entire day and held his own. And not only that, but the running backs were talking about how Rashawn Slater was directing them on what to do because he knew how to handle Myles Garrett and let Eckler and the other running backs find open holes.
Shout out to him. He did his job really, really well. You're right. You're absolutely right.
These Los Angeles Chargers are going to be something to deal with for sure. For sure. They are now tops in that AFC West. And
Chiefs are in last place.
Chiefs are in last place. What bizarre world are we in? The Raiders, we already talked about the Raiders falling 20-9 to the hapless Chicago Bears. I still say Matt Nagy's still going to be on the hot seat for sure. For sure. People are calling for his, and yeah, they really should. You want to talk about, like, you can't have a head coach trying to sabotage your top pick. You can't have that.
You can't do as many things as the Bears have done these past couple years and still try to say things with your chest as if you've achieved something. No, you have not. No.
Can we talk about some history being made, gentlemen?
Let's go.
Arizona Cardinals, for the first time since 1974, when they were the St. Louis Cardinals. I was alive when they were the St. Louis Cardinals, by the way.
You got me there.
They are 5-0 for the first time since 1974, 5 years before my existence, with their 17-10 win. This is the NFC West. Any of these teams, if they're in any other division, they are the top team in that division. And the Cardinals right now are showing, hey, it's our time now.
Two things. One, I love the Cardinals. Their offense is good. They've got a capable, not a dynamic running back in James Conner, but capable. He can do the basic stuff that you need him to do. And he's not super flashy, but he's going to do the basic job. I think a fresh start for him is the best thing that happened to him, especially given his background and his story.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
The other thing I will say, I saw this coming. When Cliff Kingsbury got hired and took that job, and they were like, oh, well, Josh Rhodes is the quarterback. Why would they want to draft one number one? I'm like, Cliff Kingsbury, air raid coach, former air raid quarterback. Kyler Murray, number one overall pick, air raid quarterback. 2 and 2 still equals 4. Saw this coming. But Arizona did the right thing. They didn't just draft a quarterback and put nothing around him. They've done a really good job investing in that offensive line. They've done a really good job investing in the skill positions. And this is considering the fact they had to transition from Larry Fitzgerald and still found a good way to put skilled guys around him. Granted, they helped fleece the Texans in the process while doing so, but someone was going to do it anyway. It might as well be them.
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, they did a really good job putting some freaks of nature on that defense.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona's going to win some games. They're going to turn some heads. They're going to make some noise.
Dudes. They got some dudes.
I've had a segment on my show for a while called Dudes and Ballers. Arizona's got ballers.
I was a year early on this team. I thought they were going to be playing well last year. They just were like, but it's a new year, and so now it's coming into play here. This is the Cardinals theme I thought we were going to get a little bit of last year, but now
this is not alone. Yeah, I did it too, Jackson. I did it too. You're not.
If you're Aqib Talib, it's calamari.
Calamari.
All
right. Cowboys, Giants. Ooh, man,
I saw a question on Twitter last night, or was it again the Sunday night? Is the NFC East over? Yeah, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
It's over. Unless Dak gets hurt again, it's over. That's it. That's the only thing.
It's been over. Yeah. It's been over since kickoff.
It should have been over last season if Dak doesn't get hurt. If Dak is healthy, it's over.
Yeah, Dak is he's what you want in a quarterback. He's big, he's strong, he's dynamic. He can make the throws. He can throw for accuracy. He can throw for the power, the deep ball. He can get it done, and he's an amazing leader. And this team revolves around him, and he's so smart. And this team revolves around him.
You know who else is smart? I love Kellen Moore as an offensive coordinator. I'm loving that move. And it probably was one of those, well, let's put him here because he's been here, and why go outside and get someone else? but he's making someone over there look really, really smart because Kellen Moore has done a really great job with that offense. I love watching Kellen Moore's.
Yeah,
This is probably the most together Cowboys team I've seen in a very, very, very long time.
I don't disagree. That defense, it could be better, but it's 10 times better than it was last year when they gave up those points in the league.
Absolutely.
True. Like they're playing on all cylinders that not even Mike McCarthy can screw this up. Like he should not be able to screw this up.
Yeah. Now that you said something,
should.
Oh, Jackson.
Now, and it's hard for me to see because here's the thing. I've always had a small soft spot for the Giants because when I was a kid in the mid 80s, me and my older brother, we were rooting for the Giants and we were rooting for the Bears. And so the Giants have always had us. Plus the Giants are essentially the Giants and the Steelers are owned by the same family. The Mars and the Rooneys are akin.
I was going to say that. I was a big LT fan. First of all, I mean, Greg first there was the last name, and then he was just an absolute monster.
Right, LT, and then Joe Morris, who was such an underappreciated back.
Right, and I think, and Brian, you could agree with this. Mm-hmm. When Giants fans and Steeler fans meet, there's a mutual respect there.
Absolutely,
the two families date back so far with the league. The way those teams were built, they got their franchise quarterbacks in the same draft. Their GMs built those teams so well around those two guys. So the quarterback was really the missing piece. Just the way both of those families and those two teams did business, you run into a Giants fan, you're like, game recognized.
We're good.
What I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's just how it was.
The Giants are one of those teams where if they were to if they play the Steelers and crush them, I can't even be mad.
No.
I can't even be mad.
And we've seen times over the years where the players where the Steelers and Giants will play each other, and some years the Steelers will win, some years the Giants will win. You're just like, all right, well, cool. See you next time. It is what it
take care, guys. Have a great season.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's hard to see the Giants in this position, but at the same token, they're going with this Daniel Jones experiment. Fortunately, it's not working, and now we got Saquon Barkley, who's going to be out for a significant amount of time. Those low ankle injuries, I've had a litany of them to the point where the doctor told me that I should just break the ankle. Ooh. And this is a done season. I'm calling this season for them right now because even if Saquon is cleared to come back, he's not going to be the same back.
No,
Daniel Jones isn't going to get it done.
I'd rather see Saquon try to spend that time to get as healthy as possible. Don't rush him back to a way he's 100% ready. It's not like you're going to be able to save this season, even if he comes back in a certain amount of time. Just get him back, get him healthy. Let this offense take their lumps. Let Daniel Jones figure out what they want to figure out, and then regroup and try to figure out how to make this group better next year.
They just need to clone Kadarius Toney 5 times to fill out the receiving core.
Oh, he's good.
Because he's about all that's left out there.
Give him the ball more and let it work.
I saw a tweet where it was Giants out this game. It was Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, Kenny Galladay, and then it lists Sterling Shepard's also out and everything. And then it's active, and it was just wide receiver Kadarius Toney, wide receiver Kadarius Toney,
Kadarius, Quadarius, Kendarius.
It's like the old comedian's joke. Why don't they just make the whole plane out of Kadarius Toney?
That's just what they need to do.
There you go. Honestly, if I'm the Giants front office, honestly, if they say, well, he's going to be out 4 to 6, you know what? Just put the kid on IR. Save him for next year. Save him. I agree. Save that career.
Agree.
Chiefs beaten up by the Bills. The Bills got some payback from last year, and it looks
I picked this one.
Yes, you did.
I picked Buffalo to win this game.
And you know what? I'm changing my end of the season pick. I'm picking the Bills coming out of the AFC.
I had them picked to begin.
I know you did.
That's my pick out of the AFC.
I am unhitching my wagon off of Kansas City, and I'm putting it on the Buffalo train.
2 things. One, I like the Bills in this game because I knew they can score, and I brought this up on my podcast, on the Sunday Morning Grab podcast with Greg Finley. I pointed this out. I said Buffalo and Kansas City were tied for the most points scored in the AFC, and Kansas City had allowed the most points in the AFC. I thought that was a terrible matchup for Kansas City.
Has no defense.
Arrowhead, I thought that was a terrible matchup for Kansas City. That's the first thing I'll say. The second thing I'll say is as good as Buffalo's offense is, there are a bunch of teams.
1,000 times better.
The defense is good. There are a bunch of teams that need to watch the tape on that offense from week 1 because the Steelers figured out how to beat him. You rush 3 guys, 4 guys tops. If a couple of those guys can win one-on-one battles, you can get pressure with 4 guys. You can beat Buffalo.
Yep. And honestly, and I'm going to say this real quick, when Steelers lock horns with the Chiefs, I think the Steelers are going to repeat that formula because it's not like the Steelers are going to be playing the Bills defense. They're going to be playing a subpar at best defense. And honestly, it's been shown that once you get to Patrick Mahomes a couple of times, you rattle him.
And if
as
they
good
can
as he
get to
is.
him, if they can get to him with 4 guys, which I think they're going to do, they're going to rush only 3 or 4 guys and let Cam Hayward and Ingram and TJ and Alex Highsmith try to get after him and let the other guys try to just find some holes and make it harder for him to find windows to throw into. I say all that fully recognizing that there aren't many windows that Patrick Mahomes can't throw into.
True.
So
Let me
you're
ask
rolling
you
the dice there, but still.
He has been missing them though at a higher rate.
True.
starting
And
to.
I think teams are starting to figure out, hey,
Yeah.
you know what? Bait him into those bad throws. Take away the easy ones, bait him into the hard ones, and then take your chances.
And I think that we're seeing the Madden curse because now he's tempting fate being on the cover again. So I think we're seeing it.
No, he's having a great offensive season. Like, we don't need to get it twisted. He's on pace to throw like 54, 55 touchdowns this season. That's insane. But he is also on pace for a 20+ interception season. And including the playoffs, he has thrown, I think it's like 14 interceptions in his last 15 games.
He's a guy who's stuck having to do everything right now. And he should not be stuck having to do everything. That's the problem in Kansas City. That defense was at least supposed to be, because remember the past couple of years, it was the offense was the driving force and the defense was just, okay, keep it close so we can have a 1 or 2 possession lead.
Right.
And now the defense can't follow suit there. And Mike Tomlin always talks about complementary football. They had good complementary football in Kansas City because the offense was the thing that was driving the points, and the defense was like, okay, just keep them off the board once or twice just so we can have that cushion. And now you can't count on that defense to get a stop. If it's a late game and the game is tied and the other team has the ball, I don't know if I trust Kansas City's defense to get a stop. And it's a bad position to be in the NFL.
Absolutely.
I just love the pictures. There's like at least 5 pictures of Tyrann Mathieu looking back and just doing this, asking what the other DBs are doing as a receiver catches it wide open, and it's just the end zone in front of him.
And I love him and Sorensen as a pair. Daniel Sorensen and Tyrann Mathieu as a pair. That might be one of my favorite pairs of safeties outside of Buffalo's. Buffalo's pair of safeties I just love. But those 2 guys I like a lot too.
All right, I'm going to ask this question after this game, and then I want to get to we're going to forego we're going to be real quick with the picks. We're going to pick our marquee games, and then we're going to get to these last stories because we've gone over. Ravens pulled one out on the Colts. Lamar Jackson shut me up. I said that he wasn't a court. He was a running back that just took snaps, but 442 passing yards. Okay, you shut me up, sir. I will admit when I'm wrong.
And I told you, he didn't win a Heisman in Bobby Petrino's offense just being a running back. He didn't win an MVP just being a running back. Lamar Jackson is the real deal. He is the guy who is helping lead this new generation of athletic quarterbacks who can also throw. Everybody throw everything you thought about Lamar Jackson's quarterback out the window and start looking at what you're seeing and accepting it for what it is.
Yep.
I say that while saying this. Indianapolis blew that so badly. Take the 20-point lead, run the ball like you had been doing the first 3 quarters, and go home. Yeah, snatch a win on the road and get out, and they couldn't do it.
That's a rare miss by Frank Reich right there.
Really
rare miss.
Blew that.
So real quick, because you're more of an insider than I am, what have we heard? Is there any call, any idea, any thought of Stephon Tuitt taking the field this season?
He is he's in that window where he's practicing with the team. I want to say there's a couple weeks left before they can decide if he's ready to go. It's weird because Stephon Tuitt's situation is so unique. There was already the situation where his brother was murdered over the offseason, which was a really terrible thing to hear happen. And then in the middle of that, he also had some injury issues too.
Right.
So it's one of those things that's like if it's not one thing, it's another thing.
Right.
And I think they want to make sure two things. I think they want to make sure he's completely physically healthy. I think they want to make sure he's in the right mental space too. And I feel bad for Stephon Tuitt because I'm a big fan of Stephon Tuitt and Cam Hayward as an interior tandem.
Mm-hmm.
And Steelers fans have started to develop this thing. Well, he's always hurt. Meanwhile, his last 2 seasons, he played most of the games the Steelers played in. He was really, really productive, especially last year. He had double-digit sacks last season, and no one talked about it.
Of course not. Well, it's because you get Yinzers that think that they know so much, and they really don't.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was tricking people into Pittsburgh into thinking they knew what they were talking about with football. And I grew up here, so I'm saying that.
Same here.
But I think the ultimate thing is that they want to make sure that he is both physically and mentally ready to go. And I hope he is, because not only is he a football player, but Stephon Tuitt, really, really great dude in the locker room. Always been really great with the media. I think he's really respected in that group. That room really loves him, so I hope he's okay.
And real quick, I want to say, talking about great guys in the Steelers that doesn't get the love and appreciation they deserve. You mind if I'm going to take a few minutes. I'm going to tell you a Max Starks story. Okay, Max Starks. I love Max Starks. I love hearing him on WDVE. I love the fact. I think he did amazing with Bill Hillgrove.
Yes.
In the booth with Craig Wolfley out. I want to send my best wishes to Craig Wolfley. He doesn't know who the hell I am from Adam, but I want to send the best wishes for him. And
Same here. I love Wolf. I got to do an event with Wolf where we were taking Q&A, and he and I had a ball together, just sharing a whole bunch of stories. Like, Wolf is one of the greatest dudes. I love Wolf.
He's been a part of my life, as listening, because for the longest time, for as long as I remember, I mute the TV and I listen to the game on DVE. I do it all the time, even to this day.
Also worth pointing out, rest in peace, Tunch.
Absolutely.
That booth was Billy, Tunch, and Wolf was on the sideline.
Yeah.
It's not the same without the big chaluchas, as Wolf used to call them. Tunch
absolutely.
Not only was he a Steeler that was respected as a player for his time there, he was respected as a broadcaster for the work that he did, but he was, and I say this without equivocation or any kind of hyperbole, one of the best human beings I've ever come across. So rest in peace, Tunch. He is missed.
Absolutely. I remember as a kid, I actually had a signed black and white of Tunch Ilkin. I don't remember how I got it, but I had it. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Yeah. And with Max Starks, I believe that when Bill Hillgrove finally decides to hang it up, Craig Wolfley and Max Starks are going to be amazing in that booth together. I think so. I think that although I would
the play-by-play
like to hear,
voice you might hear may surprise you when Billy's finally gone. We'll have that discussion later.
Well, here's the thing. I would also be okay with a Josh Taylor, Craig Wolfley play-by-play.
I don't have that many years in. I'm honored enough.
I'm just saying if I could build a dream team.
Man, you get me and Max Starks in the same booth. First of all, it'd be one of the greatest honors of my life. Second of all, it might confuse too many people. Thankfully, we'd be on radio because, believe it or not, I get mistaken for Max Starks a lot.
Yeah, you do look like a super small version. Like you look like Mini Max. You're Mini Max.
I'm definitely Mini Max because he's like 6 inches taller than me and probably a good 100 pounds heavier. Yeah, actually, probably closer to like 40 pounds heavier.
He bench press you with one arm without even thinking about it.
He probably could. You're not wrong.
So when I worked at the Hill House Association on the Hill District, Jackson,
where I grew up, baby.
Yeah,
here we go.
Jackson, and here's the thing: I didn't live on the Hill, but I feel like my roots are on the Hill. And just for you to know, Jackson, the Hill District is very important to the Black community here in Pittsburgh. That was the only place that we could work and live because we weren't able to even be downtown. So the Hill District is very, very important to the Black community here in Pittsburgh.
The Hill District, for those of you who are looking for a good reference point, it's the Harlem of Pittsburgh.
Yes.
In New York, they had the Harlem Renaissance. In Pittsburgh, we had the Hill District. That's the neighborhood I grew up in. My mom is still there. My sister's still there. It's home. I don't live in the Hill District currently, but being a Pittsburgh native and Hill District native, it will always be home.
Same here. Shenley High School graduate, class 97. Went to church, Calvary Baptist Church on Wiley Avenue. So I was on the Hill District more than I was anywhere else.
Wow. My man.
So we're going to have to take a trip through there one of these days.
Yes.
So when I worked at the Hill House Association, which is, a community center, it's no longer there. But there was a year with the after school program that I worked at, and we didn't tell the parents because we didn't want the parents to influence their kids or try to show it. We wanted it to be for the kids. The Pittsburgh Steelers took kids to the Dick's Sporting Goods out in Robinson. And one of the kids, and they gave them $50 gift cards for them to buy themselves something for Christmas. Now, one of our little boys was paired with Max Starks. And Max was taking him around talking to him. The kid was like starstruck, right? And this is how it was relayed to me because I wasn't able to go. The little boy was finding stuff for his mom and his younger siblings. He was not getting anything for himself. Max saw this. And when the little kid got upset because what he wanted to get his mom and his younger siblings, he could not afford with the $50 gift card. Max Starks told him, get it anyway. And then told him to get something for himself. And bought it out of pocket for this kid. And then told the kid to keep that $50 gift card for himself. And that story has stayed with me. So when I think about the true good guys in professional sports, Max Starks' name is at the tippity top of that list.
Bryan, I'm gonna need you to help me keep accountable on this.
Okay.
I just remember this. Okay, no, it's nothing like bad or anything, but it involves the Steelers. Okay, my dad has an autographed picture from, I think it was the 78 or 79 Pittsburgh Steelers team. Because my dad, when he was a kid, used to write players that he liked, asking for autographs, and they would send a lot of stuff back. One of his prized possessions, he has an autographed Bob Grease football.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna try to find that picture and bring it and show it to you both in the future somehow. If I can find it. I'll show it to you guys.
Wow.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're gonna go down this week's line real quick. I'm gonna say the game. Give me your picks in 2 sentences or less. All right. So because I want to keep it quick because I want to take a dump on Kyrie Irving before we go off air.
I can name that tune in 1 sentence.
All right, fine. Bucks Eagles.
Brady
Jackson.
keeps rolling. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So Jackson, go ahead.
Bucks, easy.
Brady keeps rolling. Tampa.
Same. All right. The Hapless Bowl. Dolphins, Jags. Jackson.
No comment.
Fair enough. You're allowed.
Dolphins win a stinker in the swamp.
Fair enough.
Brian Flores fights for his job. How about that?
All right. I don't disagree. I think that this could be the final game of Urban Meyer. I think this is the game where the team just finally just says we're done. If
Flores loses to an 0-5 Jaguars team in London, with the expectations of this Miami team coming into this season, even with Tua it being the first week back healthy,
Flores might get fired.
I think Flores, not only does he get fired, I don't know. If he loses that game, then I would have to call into question if he finishes the season or not.
Race to the pink slip.
Fair enough. All right. Chiefs football team.
Chiefs bounce back. They get a win in Washington.
Jackson, same. All right. We're in agreement there.
Agreed.
Can we just all agree that the Rams are going to kill the Giants and move on?
Yes.
Okay.
Aaron
Not
Donald
even a trap game. This is what it is.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald is dominance incarnate. That doesn't change.
Yeah. Aaron Donald is going to throw Daniel Jones and that entire Giants offensive round around.
Him and Derrick Henry are the two people that there is no money in the world that you could pay me to go one-on-one in an Oklahoma drill with. No.
Listen,
we absolutely agree.
Aaron Donald is a product of Penn Hills High. And one thing here in Pittsburgh is that at least at that point in time, that football program was out of sight. And
that kid was a monster at Penn Hills.
Yeah, he I swear to God, that boy plays with the devil in him.
Whew. Another great human, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Colts, Texans, this game is going to be better than it has any right to be.
It shouldn't be that good, and the Colts should win this one. I love their run game. They should win this game. I love their defense, too.
I agree.
Yeah. Colts have been so weird. I feel like they're better than 1-4. They had a bad draw first 2 weeks, playing Seattle and the Rams. And then of course last week it's tough, but their division isn't that great. I'm not a big believer in the Titans, so all hope's not lost yet, but must win if there's any hope.
3 teams in the AFC South with 1 win or less. That's how bad that division is.
Are we ready to agree that the Bengals are going to hurt the Lions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big bounce back for Burrow and that offense.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Bears Packers. Ooh. The NFC North, as nasty as it can be sometimes, this is always a barn burner. And you know what? Aaron Rodgers is going to play a game called "Who is Your Daddy and What Does He Do?" I'm your daddy and I'll win.
The last go round for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. This whole season is going to be fun for him. He's going to light up Chicago on the way out the door. On his way to, wait for it, Pittsburgh.
I can't wait to have that conversation.
He was talking about he was talking about on the Pat McAfee show today. Pat McAfee. I always forget how to say his name because I've heard
Plum native
multiple ways. But he was talking.
Yes, sir.
He was talking about Pittsburgh. He talks about Pittsburgh a lot.
Unprompted. He keeps doing it completely unprompted because usually McAfee tosses you softballs. He keeps mentioning it unprompted. He's throwing his hints out. Mike Tomlin threw his hints out earlier today.
I think they're trolling us. But
it's a thing. That's all I'm saying. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Chargers Ravens. Could this be game of the week?
Yes, it could.
Yes, it is my game of the week. Honestly, just for
it really could.
Actually, I think this is the game that I'm probably going to be watching since the Steelers play that night. This is the 1:00 game that I'm going to be watching this week.
Agreed.
And honestly, I can't pick a winner. I can't. This is one of those games where it's like you got 2 young quarterbacks that are coming off of very, very strong performances. Both teams are playing amazing ball. I can't choose. The Steeler fan in me wants to say the Chargers are going to kill the Ravens. The football man in me wants to say I can't pick because this is just too good.
Chargers cover at least in this. They at least cover the spread in this one. Ravens are as of right now, they're a -3, which if you know the betting, how it works, if you're a -3 at home, that means you're 50-50 in the neutral site. So Chargers cover this one. They probably win it outright.
All right,
and that's as a West Coast team coming all the way over to the East Coast. Now, I still think they can win this game.
As far East Coast as possible.
Both teams have really electric offenses. I think the deciding factor is going to be defense in this game, and I trust I almost said San Diego again for the 100th time.
To me, they are. To me, they're still
the
San
Chargers.
Diego.
I trust the Chargers defense more than I trust Baltimore's defense. So slight edge there.
And the Chargers won't let Baltimore back up if they get a big lead, like Indianapolis did.
No, they won't.
No. All right.
They will run the football. They will run the football.
Yes.
Austin Eckler will get 40 carries if he has to. They will run the football.
Can we agree?
Speaking of fantasy, I was one of many Americans last night that was up by 8 or so points and lost to the Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews stack PPR onslaught. I ended up losing by like 30.
I was one of the ones that ended up winning because of Josh Allen.
Oh,
I
don't do any of that. It's hard for a pimp out there, Jackson. Though
it do be sometimes. It do be like that.
Can we agree that? Can we say this Panthers Vikings game is a bounce back for the Panthers, or do the Vikings ride some momentum?
No, Panthers figure it out. I can't see Darnold having 2 bad games like that back to back. So yeah, I'll say Carolina.
Carolina.
All right. Game of the week number 2, 4:00 game. Cardinals, Browns.
This could be game of the week number 2 is a good way to put it. Arizona should win this game. Somehow I think Cleveland guts it out. I think having lost that game against the Chargers, it's going to piss the Browns off. I think it's going to piss them off. And Kevin Stefanski, we got to start acknowledging that Kevin Stefanski is a good coach.
Yes.
And
we learned that firsthand.
Very seldom has back-to-back bad games. I think Cleveland bounces back and wins this one. And this is going to be really, really good. But I think I think they could beat Arizona.
I think Kyler Murray gonna have to have them wheels on ultra. He's gonna have to have some NOS inside his pads because Myles Garrett's gonna be chasing him all damn day.
And he has to be flawless in this game. He has to be flawless to beat Cleveland.
He's got to be.
Because if Cleveland gets a lead, they are going to run the ball down.
Nick Chubb is going to destroy you.
Chubb and Hunt will finish you off.
But at the same,
yeah.
What do you say, Jackson?
Yeah, I'm gonna give slight edge to the Browns here. It's all good points that everyone's made, and it's just I love Kyler Murray. I think he's played phenomenally, but he's kind of slowed down the past 2 weeks, just a tad bit. They've been good enough to win, obviously, but he's slowed down a tad bit. And
it makes you wonder if he can turn it on when he needs to, if he keeps playing that way. I understand.
So and this is some intense competition. Now they played a great game against I'm stuck in the mid 2000s with football teams.
Now you know how I feel. I'm stuck in the 80s and 90s. I'm stuck in the 80s and 90s, man.
The Los Angeles Rams, they played a phenomenal game against the Rams, and the Rams are one of my top teams in the NFC. But it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. Brian, how you were feeling about the Chargers and Ravens game? I feel about the same way
you're feeling here
with this. Yeah, it's
right.
hard. I'm gonna give it to the Browns, but I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about it.
I can get down with it. All right, Broncos Raiders. I think this is a bounce back game for the Broncos. There's just way too much. There's way too much turmoil in that Las Vegas locker room right now.
Agreed. Broncos get it done. The defense, I thought the defense made a couple of mistakes that could have made this game way worse against the Steelers. They probably gave the Steelers that bigger lead. That one penalty on, I think it was on the field goal attempt with the Leverson call.
Yes.
And there was another bad one on, I think it was on a third down and left that kept the drive alive. Mm-hmm. I think they'll clean up those mistakes and they'll beat up the Raiders by a couple of possessions.
Von Miller is going to be up Derek Carr's booty hole.
And he was quiet in Pittsburgh.
Very quiet.
Chuks Okorafor did his job and no one talked about it.
Nope. Not at all. Jackson?
Broncos. I had the Raiders as the worst team in that division, and they started out hot. Now they're not. Then you throw in the Gruden situation. That is, the picture. It's the meme where it's like someone's riding on a bicycle, and then they take a stick and they shove it in between, like in the wheel, and then they fall over.
Spoke. Yeah,
like this is Gruden stabbing it into the season for the Raiders. And I think it's kind of downhill from here.
Agreed.
Cowboys Patriots. I think Dak keeps it going. I think Dak goes into Gillette and handles business. I got the Cowboys in on this one.
Cowboys win, but the Patriots cover.
Okay. What you got, Jay?
Cowboys.
Okay. Mm-hmm. See if that line's the same. Yeah, it's Cowboys -4. That might extend a little bit. Cowboys win, but the Patriots cover.
All right. Sunday night, first time under the lights. Steelers, Seahawks. Seahawks without their glue. Steelers are feeling good. They're getting their swagger back. Things are working on the offensive side of the ball. The defense is starting to get healthy.
I think I got my swagger back.
It's a long. Yeah, that's pretty much what Ben Roethlisberger's saying right now. Just like that, too, because Ben Roethlisberger has no rhythm.
For the first time that I can remember in a while, he was averaging over 10 yards an attempt. Good for him. Good for him.
And he only had, 25, 26?
He only had
spot.
Yeah.
That's it right there. 30.
Leave it there.
Anything more than 30 passes,
it's bad.
You're doing too much. They've got the running game going. They've got a good balance with Ben Roethlisberger. This is the balance that we haven't seen from him since his second season in the league, and that season they won a Super Bowl. I'm not trying to make that assertion, but that's the kind of balance that you want for him at this point in his career. Sunday nights at home, Steelers do not lose, at least unless they blow it completely. That Chargers game a couple years ago comes to mind, but I think they'll follow through. I said this before they kicked off against Denver. Steelers would be 3-3 going into their bye week. I'm sticking.
Yes, you did, and I can attest to that because I follow Josh Taylor on 2 social media accounts. I'm on board with that as well. The Steelers get it done. They get ready to go. They go into that bye week at 500, and they
get to prepare for Cleveland.
Yes, and then they have to prepare for Cleveland.
That's big.
I'm also going to say right now, Najee Harris has another 100-yard game.
Agreed.
And he finally, and this is the game where he tells everyone, I'm the offensive rookie of the year.
Yes.
Period.
Agreed.
All right. Final game, Monday Night Football, Bills, Titans. Time to wake up from that dream there, sweet Titans. We may remember the Titans, but when Bills run, they don't stop. Josh Allen's
We're going to be remembering the Titans because it's a memorial service.
Pretty much. You overpaid for Bud Dupree. You overpaid for Julio Jones. Ryan Tannehill.
I don't think been hurt. He's only seen the field
so.
like once or twice, hadn't he?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, he's
Ryan Tannehill continues to wake up from that dream of glory. Josh Allen kills him.
Josh Allen beefs up his resume and nudges himself ahead of Kyler Murray in the MVP conversation.
Absolutely.
100%.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's run through these real quick. Tyson Fury KOs Deontay Wilder. This is the trilogy, if you really want to call it like a rivalry. Tyson Fury has been just dominant in the dying sport. These two guys are the last bright lights, and that's why this ending the way it did.
You mean the Paul brothers don't do it for you?
I'm not even going to dignify that with a response.
I'm just glad it's a quality heavyweight. I'm just glad it was a quality heavyweight fight because, Brian, you know this generation we grew up in, heavyweight fights, like quality heavyweight fights for championships. We used to see them all the time, and we don't anymore. And from what I gather, I didn't get to see it. I was actually working TV that night, so I didn't get to watch it. But a lot of people that I knew that watched it said they loved that fight. So it's good to see an actual heavyweight title fight that was worth the hype. Granted, Tyson Fury won again. The Gypsy King just keeps doing his thing, but yeah.
Absolutely. And his little brother is going to kill one of those Paul douchebags. I can't wait for that. I will actually be willing to spend money to watch him kill them.
I don't know if I go that far. I know
I'm not
of
going.
illegal sites
I just said
where
I
can
might.
watch it.
I said I might.
I got a VPN and illegal sites. I'm protected, baby.
Fair enough.
I need boxing to actually be boxing again instead of a money grab for people who have no business being in the ring. That's all I want.
Thank you very much.
Give me my wish, please.
All right. So MLB, the Sox move on. They're waiting for the Houston and Sox to pull it out.
It is going to be the Astros. It is Houston.
I picked Houston before that series started. I also picked Tampa to beat Boston, and Boston made a liar out of me.
Well, actually, Houston won today, so it is.
Oh, so it is Houston.
Okay. It is going to be Houston and Boston.
All right. We have no clear cut. We have no clear cut on the National League side of things.
I had San Francisco going in. I had the Giants come out. I had them knocking off the Dodgers and winning the National League. San Francisco, here's a crazy stat. San Francisco, since like mid-May, was either in first place or in second place a couple games back throughout the course of the season after that. They have been good literally all year, and no one knows how, but they have been.
Hey, it's what happens when things just come together. And I want to give a little bit of credit and a small shout out to the Atlanta Braves. They're doing the best that they can, but when you don't have your top dogs, it's going to be hard. But and can we real quick
all the credit to the Braves, absolutely.
And can we also just say I think it's kind of funny that the Atlanta Braves are playing the Milwaukee Brewers because the Atlanta Braves used to be the Milwaukee Braves. Can we just give that little bit of irony? Okay.
In the season after Hank Aaron passed away, you probably couldn't write a better script. So rest in peace, Hank Aaron.
Ben Simmons came into practice. He showed up in Philly. He might practice. He showed up to get his COVID test and begin the process of return to the franchise.
I think he just showed up because he was going to get fined $1 million for not showing up.
I
think that's the only reason. That's the only reason.
I only showed up so I wouldn't get fined.
I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Mm-hmm.
The private flight from Los Angeles to Philly, heck of a lot cheaper than $1 million fine.
Plus. Yeah. You don't want to be the guy who got worse press than Kyrie Irving right now. You don't want to be.
Yeah.
He needs to be thanking his stars that the Kyrie Irving thing is happening because before the Kyrie Irving stuff, it was all the Ben Simmons talk.
Yep.
Now Kyrie is happening and Ben Simmons just quietly under the rug.
Another Chris Rock joke. Oh, kids getting shot in schools. Oh, good. They're not talking about me.
That's right.
I hate to use that example, but
it's true. It's true. Kyrie Irving,
bunch of stuff happened. Good, they're not talking about me.
Exactly. And speaking of Kyrie moron, he will not be able to play or practice with the Nets until he complies with New York's COVID-19 vaccination rules. That was announced today. This is a quote from Nets GM Sean Marks. Given the evolving nature of the situation and after a thorough deliberation, we have decided Kyrie Irving will not play or practice with the team until he is eligible to be a full participant. Kyrie has made a personal choice, and we respect his individual right to choose. Currently, the choice restricts his ability to be a full-time member of the team, and we will not permit any member of our team to participate with part-time availability, end quote. Thank you, Brooklyn Nets, for taking a stand.
I mean, they kind of didn't have a choice either, because New York State, they said that you have to be vaccinated. It's from the state. The mandate's not from the NBA. It's not from the Brooklyn Nets as an organization. It's not from their GM. It's not from their owner. It's not from their coach. It's not from the players taking a vote that we all should get the vaccine. And if you don't get the vaccine, then we don't want you on the team. It is the state government said that you have to get the vaccine. And he did not get the vaccine. Shoot, if he was to go to Toronto and he'd leave a little bubble, if this is for anybody that's unvaccinated, you could possibly get arrested and thrown in prison, Canadian prison.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just, they said they respect his right to choose and everything. But I mean, I think this is it for Kyrie. I don't know if he comes back ever in any capacity, because unless it's in post, whenever we finally reach post-COVID Earth or United States, at least, because he's a liability to teams in the Eastern Conference. Because if you are playing in a 7-game playoff series and you got to play 4 games in Brooklyn, because Brooklyn's probably going to be the higher seed than what you are. I know a lot of people are mentioning a Ben Simmons trade with Philly, although Philly came out and said they're not interested. He's a liability because that's a couple games that you need that he's not going to be available. And what if one of them's a game 7? What if he goes to one of the contenders in the Western Conference? You got to play Brooklyn you got to play Brooklyn in the finals. That's 3-4 games. You're not going to have Kyrie Irving. That could be the series. He's a liability.
I will say 2 things, and then I will kindly move on from this, because I hate the conversation surrounding it most of the times, but sometimes it's necessary. The first thing I will say is that I wish Kyrie Irving and Karl Anthony Towns could sit down and have a civil conversation. That's one thing I think that probably should happen. Number 2, I know the circumstances behind the 2 men are not similar. However, the decision-making for the 2 men are similar. Kyrie Irving, Colin Kaepernick. This is one of those times where your conviction will be tested. And if you are as convicted as you say you are, and you're willing to turn that check down, more power to you. If you are not, if you are as committed to the game, as committed to your teammates as people think you claim to be, you got to make the decision here. And as much as people talk about, it's about this and about that, and that's perfectly fine. But sooner or later, you got to choose between the bag and what you believe to be true. I hope he makes the right decision for himself and his family. I'll say that much.
Here's my thing, and this is why I explode when I hear people talk. And here's the thing. I know of one individual who I won't mention his name, but he's someone that I respect a tremendous deal. He is a man that I hold in very, very high regard. And he has said that he's not getting the vaccine because he is actually allergic to vaccinations. Even as a child, when he had the initial vaccinations, he had a horrible allergic reaction. And, so that's why he's not getting the vaccine. And I respect that.
If that's true, then it is what it is.
And on top of it all, this individual also takes every single solitary precaution to take to ensure that not only is he safe, but everyone is around him is safe. I have an individual in my family that just says, I don't like vaccines, and they go with the same old talking points and blah, blah, blah. And, I had a bad reaction to a vaccine once, not allergic. I had a bad reaction, so I'm just not going to do it. But then they also want to be the victim when people say, all right, well, you either have to have a mask on at all times if you're going to come around because we have kids that can't be vaccinated, or you have to stay away. And they want to act like they're the victim. That I'm not okay with.
I had to make that same decision within my own family. I got a 6-month-old son. And I don't care what you tell me. Me and my wife went through a lot to get him here. I will be damned if I put that in jeopardy because you want to come in my house and not listen. You can kindly stay outside. It's
Thank
my
you.
house. I
My
don't care how
rules.
you feel. I got to live here when you leave.
Exactly.
Everyone in life has their own right to make decisions, but they also have to deal with consequences of those decisions.
Yeah.
If Kyrie feels so strongly about this, then he doesn't have to get the vaccine.
Then don't get it.
I'm saying,
don't act like you're the victim when the consequences come. Because here's the thing: number one, and I see people on Twitter flapping their little gums. These little keyboard activists don't have
the dudes like the meme where it's like all the dudes in sunglasses, American flags, and big beards, and it's like Kyrie Irving is my favorite basketball player.
Well, it's not even just. It's just there's so many people. Look, I understand that they have a mistrust with vaccines. All right, I get it. I understand. But guess what? Number one, the Brooklyn Nets are a private organization, just like the NBA is a private organization.
Just like the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes. And just because you have the talent to play does not give you the right to play. They can cancel your contract. They don't have to let you play. And if the state that this team is in has put down a mandate, it is law, period. And if you don't like it, then you know what? Fine. But, and this is what upsets me, because Letitia Wright, who plays Shuri in the Black Panther films, is right now she's under fire because she's going on there's reports saying that she's going on anti-vax rants on set. And now Disney is starting to look into other options to move on from her. Here's the thing. I am not saying that our community, Josh, doesn't have a right to distrust the medical industry. We've got every single right to distrust the medical industry, and I get it. But don't sit there and tell me, well, I'm doing research of my own and blah, 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 blah. All right, number one, the average person can't read a science paper. I've tried. Now, I like to think of myself when it comes to literature and analyzing what's the written word. I like to think that I am very good at that. As a writer myself, I am good at that. I have tried to read science articles, science journals, and actual science papers about research. Unless you have a PhD in a specialty in that field, your research is moot. It is pointless. And it's
also someone else's research.
Right. And it's someone else's research. And guess what? You can't just take line by line, put it into Google and say, hey, Google, what does this mean? And call it research. It doesn't work that way. All right. So just stop it. Stop. Kyrie. Now, maybe I'm harsher on Kyrie because he also goes into that flat earth nonsense. And to me, this is just yet another receipt of stupidity. But come on. At the end of the day, look, the state made the mandate. You got to follow it. I'm so sick of people thinking, well, I live in America. I can do what I want. No, you can't. You cannot. Just because the government cannot throw you in a hole without trial for saying something does not mean that you are free of consequence. So just stop. And here's my thing. If I'm a GM in this league, I don't care how good of a player he is, he has no place in my locker room. Done. By the way, LiAngelo Ball reportedly signs a G League contract and he's going to enter the draft. Good for him.
All right.
Good for
Never lost.
Yeah. I'm glad the Ball brothers are getting smart enough to just like tell their dad to F off, because all he is a distraction. And I think that they're a very, very talented group of young players. I'm happy to see one of the Ball brothers at my beloved Chicago Bulls. And
shout out to Jeannie Buss of my beloved Lakers, who was one of the first to tell LeVar Ball, we're glad to have your son here. We were honored to have him as a Laker, but you will sit with the other parents. You will sit down and you will shut up. Shout out to Jeannie Buss.
Jeannie Buss,
the Cersei Lannister of the NBA.
That's right. Jeannie Buss has
brother, dude.
She has no F's to give.
Ain't no F's in Jeannie Buss. 0.
And you know what? I like Courtney's point here. She feels like he doesn't want to play. He just has to.
Oh, that's yeah. Hey. There's always a Cooper Manning in the family.
And that's sometimes true. That Cooper Manning produces a son that's going to be better than the brothers potentially.
Yeah. For every TJ Watt, there's a Derek Watt. That's mean. Because here's the thing though, if Derek Watt played, I think the issue with Derek Watt and anyone that's a fullback in football, and this is my last point since I brought up Derek Watt, they're in the wrong era of football because no one really does the power eye anymore. If there was a power eye to be run, Derek Watt would be as valuable to this team as Roosevelt Nix was and as John Whitman was.
And I think that's why Derek Watt has most of his value tied up in special teams. That's pretty much where you're going to be valued the most. So that's what it is for him.
There's always a third Hemsworth brother.
Claim to fame. I'm Chris and Liam's brother.
I have a cameo with Matt Damon and
oh damn.
That's his claim.
Jackson just closed it out. It's over.
That's it.
Cartered it.
He did. So with that being said, you can catch Josh Taylor. He has a regular spot here on the Tanndemonium Sports Show. Once a month, he's here. You can catch Josh Taylor. If you're not in Pittsburgh, make sure you download the Odyssey app.
Yes.
Go to 93.7 The Fan. You can listen to Josh Sunday mornings.
Sunday mornings these days with NFL pregame happening. Sundays at 7 a.m. for the most part. I'm going to say October 31st. It's either the 31st or the 24th, maybe at 10 a.m. We're kind of switching schedules around since the Steelers are going to bye week. But yeah, Odyssey app for 93.7 The Fan. CBSN Pittsburgh online for CBS Pittsburgh is where I do my TV work. Also, I'm going to point this out now, available on Amazon. Pittsburgh's Civic Arena just released a couple days ago. Great book about the old igloo and a lot of stuff that went down there. I wrote 3 chapters in it, working with a really great group of authors. Pick it up. It's a good book.
You also wrote a book with Sean Gibson, who we had on the show earlier on this year.
Unlucky 21. That was a couple years back. Pretty much the most tragic sports stories in Pittsburgh sports history. Obviously, he wrote one about his great-grandfather, Josh Gibson. I wrote a chapter about Paul Spadafora, the Pittsburgh kid, the boxer.
Oh, yes.
His tragic fall from grace. And I'm trying to think of what the other one was. It's been a while. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think I wrote a couple chapters in that book. But yeah, the Paul Spadafora chapter was the one I was probably the bigger one of the 2 that I wrote.
Yep. Make sure you follow Josh for all of his takes at Josh Taylor HD. You're always going to get the analysis that you get on here. You're going to get that all the time if you follow this man on Twitter because he knows what he's talking about. And I can vouch for it because he and I have been talking sports and wrestling and everything in between since, 6th period history into 7th, 8th, and 9th period English.
And don't forget first period health.
Absolutely. Pedro and Kiko.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll tell you that story off air, Jackson Law, because it's hilarious to me.
Oh man. That was 25 years ago.
That was 25 years ago.
Yes.
My God. Yeah. Josh Taylor has been one of my even though we fell out of touch for a while, he's been one of my best friends for the last 25 years. I'm so honored that you come on to the show when we ask. Make sure you guys check him out. Like I said, on the Odyssey app for 93.7 The Fan. Make sure you check out his TV stuff. He already gave you the link. Follow him on Twitter. Jackson Law, J Law, 1995. Yep. The guy does anything and everything for this company. He has more live streams than I have sizes and shoes, okay? The man just does it all. He is the Vendetta OG. He gets it done.
Geisa Helm merch coming soon. I'm gonna submit my my patent to the U.S. government in the morning. Get that trademarked as soon as I can. So,
all right, you better do it because I'm gonna call you out
maybe.
next week.
You got to order for double XL coming, especially if it's in a hoodie. I'm in.
And of course, I would be remiss and quite frankly an asshole if I didn't give love and shout out to probably the best producer that anyone could ever ask for. And Courtney, don't call a plumber. She gets the notes going. She yells at me in the private chat when we're going over. She keeps not just this show together, but she is basically the Russell Wilson of this company. She helps keep it together as well. So shout out to Courtney as well. Thank you everyone for checking us out. Make sure you go to vendettasportsmedia.com where you can get all of our content. Some amazing stuff's been out there. I believe it was young Mr. Murphy that wrote a great story today. It came out today about the storylines of the NFL for this past week. It was a great read. Check out our YouTube channel, Vendetta Sports Media. Make sure you like.
We've had a lot of NBA previews coming up. We've been working.
Oh, they've been coming up out of left field. They've been coming out. So make sure you check those out as well. NHL season starts tonight. And of course, we just had Gavin on That Some Cheese talking NHL. God, what else? I mean, make sure you check out the Lead Word with Chad Bowman coming up. I'm going to be on there as well.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I forget exactly what time it starts, but stick around because the Balls Deep Fantasy Show is right after us.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that being said,
tonight they're supposed to be.
I believe so. So with that being said, I'm Bryan Tann. He's Jackson Law. Obviously, we got Josh Taylor here. Courtney, Don't Call a Plumber, is in the producing booth. We'll see you guys next week, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, broadcasting live here on Twitch. With that, we're out of time. See ya.